I dismiss them. I want them, don't move, they don't listen. Now it's drastic, walking with a bang, salty like they bang, head up in my face, no space, put it up, I don't fade. I ain't missing no shot, cause I'm always in range.
Supposed to guess this one. What are those?
Yo, I landed here. Yo, I just realized. Nah.
This is a really hard one. I think you guys won this one, Fortnite. My first impression is lavish lair.
I'm saying lavish lair 100%. That's gotta be. I see it in the reflection.
This one's in lavish lair.
Rebel Roost area.
I'm not getting one of these wrong.
Lavish lair, 100%. I'm so smart. I'm literally the smartest guy in the world, bro.
There's a bowling alley on the map.
A bowling alley?
I've seen this before. I've tried to farm it.
I'm saying Rebel Roost again because I have no clue.
I'm gonna go with Rebel's Roost.
I'm gonna go with Reckless. What? What is Cloistered Castle, bro?
Oh my god. Nah.
Ship It Station.
Grand Glacier.
Is that snow on the floor?
Right off the bat, I'm thinking it's the building next to the forecast tower by Reckless Railways.
There's snow here? Oh my god, there is snow. What am I doing? I land here.
Oh, this one's Lightworks, Snooty Steps.
I'm pretty sure it's that log cabin, like down below Brawler's Battleground, like on the coast.
Cliffside Lodge, that's my final answer. Oh my god, I'm crazy for that. Let's go. I mean, this is the easiest one you guys are gonna give me all day.
There's no other like structure in the map that's built like this.
Restored reels.
It's restored reels, 100%.
This is restored reels.
Simple.
How am I supposed to guess this one? What are those?
We're having some bread and some slurp juice.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the yacht.
This is a really hard one. I think you guys won this one, Fortnite.
It's fencing fields. It's my spot. I have to know this.
I just couldn't even think of that. Nice. Good job, Blake. How is anybody in the world supposed to know what this is off of some boxes in a chest?
I'm gonna go with Snooty Steps.
Oh no! This is the lighthouse.
That like red roof looks like one of the roofs on the train station, maybe.
It's so easy to like. You just have to play the game and you know everything.
What are we looking at? A globe?
I have no clue.
If I get this one wrong too, I'm gonna be really mad at myself because I'm not doing too hot.
Zeus is a Greek god, right?
I see a statue in the reflection. I think this is Mount Olympus, 100%.
And they have something to do with stars, right? So it's Mount Olympus. I just guessed that too. Like, I used my brain there. I'm actually 200 IQ, bro.
Oh my god. What is this?
Yo, I landed here. Yo, I just realized. Nah. Nah, I landed here. This is the windmill.
Oh, this is the windmill.
Yo, this is the windmill, bro. Come on.
Oh, Grim Gates.
It's the Underworld or the Grim Gate. It's only two answers.
Yeah, I think it's the Underworld.
I'm gonna guess Grimgate.
This might be near my drop spot. I go Underworld.
Wait, you might be playing me. I think I'm gonna go up Underworld. I'm so smart. You thought you were gonna troll me, bro.
Did I do the worst out of everyone?
That could have been perfect score, but it took a little bit longer.
I think I've gotten like all of them wrong.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome to the FNCS. We just wrapped up EU and now it is our time. It is semi-finals. 3 days of Fortnite action, all to figure out who's going to the grand finals of Major 2, where there's an Axe of Champions, where there's more spots going to the Global Championships later this year. It's going to be a great time. Now, of course, not just me hanging out with you. We got two analysts. They'll be breaking down everything we're seeing here today. It is none other than Kelly and Vivid. My friends, semifinals. Here we are. How you guys doing?
Oh, doing good, Zeke. Finally, we have arrived in the semifinals. Gosh, those 2 weeks of anticipation. What's going to happen? Who's going to qualify to grand finals? Kelly, I am just so excited to finally be here, and there is a lot on the line.
I like that you bring up the 2 weeks of anticipation, because we did have this 2-week break from the open qualifiers to the semifinals, but that was not a break for the action that is happening in Fortnite. So much has changed in those last 2 weeks, and I can't wait to get into it.
That's right. There's so much to discuss. Right off the bat, we're going back to set lobbies, baby. Ooh. That's right. I know the first few weeks are a little crazy, a little frenetic energy, but now we make our return to set lobbies. Friends, how is that going to change the competition?
I mean, yeah, there's going to be a lot going on, right? Very, very different than what we saw over the first two qualifiers. And of course, you know, these being set lobbies, the format definitely changing up from those qualifiers to these semifinals, Kelly. I mean, these teams are going to be playing quite differently, I would imagine.
Yeah, the format might look a little scary if this is your first time seeing it, but that is what we are here for. Over the 2 weeks of qualifiers, our teams have been accumulating series points, and right now we have broken down the series points from the top 50, and that's in our upper bracket, to the 200 below them, fighting the lower bracket. But we are looking, of course, at the upper bracket. That's going to be our set lobbies, and from here, all these players need to do, is grab a victory royale, and then they are punching their ticket into the grand finals.
And of course, that's what today is going to be all about, those victory royales. Well, I guess not all about, because if you don't end up with one of those victory royales, you are going to want to find yourself in the top 25 on that leaderboard. So that way you actually stay in the upper bracket and can continue for those opportunities to qualify for the grand finals. But simultaneously, running alongside these set lobbies will of course be those lower bracket matches where teams will be fighting for an opportunity to bump themselves up into the upper bracket tomorrow. 1st to 30th is what those teams are going to be looking forward to. And then of course, Zeke, you know, on that day 3 on Sunday, it changes up a little bit. Only 3 matches in each of the upper and lower brackets there for teams to qualify for grand finals.
Yeah, I mean, pressure is mounting, right? Some of these duos in the upper bracket, they're feeling comfortable. They're like, okay, look, we've got some wiggle room. The duos down in that lower bracket, they need to make sure they are making it up into that upper bracket, because they're either going to keep that dream alive or the run is done, and they're going to have to try and run it back for major number 3. Now, as we focus in on the competition, let's take a look at a heat map. There's a couple things worth mentioning today. Let's start things off with fencing field. Just how many duos will we be seeing landing here?
4 teams over at the fields. You know, our FNCS champions from major number 1, of course, winning from this POI. So I guess a bunch of other teams were like, you know what, maybe that's the POI where we can go ahead and take that Axe of Champions. They will be actually one of the teams landing over there. Of course, our major 1 champions. Bunch of action going on over there, but just a bunch of action that we will actually get the opportunity to watch, Kelly, in the early game and the mid game, because, you know, like we've already mentioned, Kelly, back to those set lobbies.
That's right. With Acorn and Cold there, it's going to be hard to beat them, but Muzz and Peep are also going to be landing over in fencing field, so definitely some contention going on there. And it also doesn't do justice just how many duos are landing on this bottom lower west side. But of course, that's not the only location that we're going to be seeing that has a lot of contestation going on, because with 50 duos, there's only so many places on the map that you can land.
And of course, the Underworld, 3 teams are going to be landing up there. It will be exciting to see how some of these off-spawn fights actually go down. And, you know, of course, we have the strongest POI of the season, Grimgate and Uncontested. Oh, okay. Yeah, strongest POI. Just go ahead and give them that POI for free, Zeke. I think we know who's going to be landing over there.
Yeah, good old Peterbot and Pollo. I don't know whose idea it was to give them this POI uncontested. Granted, as we've talked about them, they are kind of the titans here of this season, but looks like nobody wants to step up, Kelly. Nobody.
I mean, first of all, people have tried to step up to them, and it's failed miserably every time. So don't give the rest of the lobby a hard time, because they've definitely tried.
Listen, I'm here for the chaos, all right? I'm here for action, and that's what I'm excited to see. Now, we just saw the Bush Bomb be reintroduced into Fortnite. We got a little bit glimpse of it over in EU, but what can we kind of expect out of this item?
Well, like we've already mentioned a couple times here, we will be watching the entire game out, which means that we will see teams kind of implement strategies as it relates to Storm Surge and being able to throw these bushes down around the map and up in these very tall bases will surely create maps or points on the map where teams definitely do not want to rotate anywhere near, because those bushes, they will be dangerous.
Yeah, definitely going to help with Storm Surge there. And a duo I know is going to have some issues with Storm Surge is, of course, going to be Clicks and Epic Whale. They're going to be landing over in Lavish Layer, and no one else is essentially landing near them, so that's going to be an issue for Storm Surge. But what might help them is the bunkers, because out of all the bunkers, 2 of them do land near Lavish, and you know that there's going to be some fights happening near these bunkers. They provide so much loot. They provide gold, and of course, those weapon modification benches, which allow you to kind of adjust your weapons to how you see fit. Epic Whale and Clicks essentially went to the bunker every single time, bullying out players. But my concern for them, though, Vivid, is that they ended up staying in Storm a few times just to claim those bunkers, and we know how risky that can be.
Yeah, 100%. Do not be surprised if you see teams kind of take some of this storm damage, waiting for those bunkers to actually open when third zone does come. But, you know, listen, there's a lot of loot down there. Those mod benches, like you said, they are very, very valuable. So kind of taking that damage is going to be considered worth it for a lot of our teams.
Yeah, high risk, high reward, right? That reward on one end, very, very worth it. We'll have to see how many fights break out, or if any at all. Now, it's not just us hanging out with you today. We've also got 2 casters. It's Monster D-Face, the Best Taco. Let's head on over to them to get their thoughts.
Thank you so very much, Zeke. That's right. We've been deprived, essentially, as we've been coming out of the qualifiers of our set lobbies, Taco. And now, in this weekend, we finally get to see some real action.
Yeah, the set lobby is really what it's all about for me, MDF. I cannot emphasize on it enough. I'm sure a lot of our competitors in this upper bracket are so happy and relieved because they have a little bit more of an idea of what to expect. But again, you're playing for the Victory Royale, and it's not going to be easy to attain in a set lobby either.
No, it's not, especially now, like we talked about, those bush bombs coming into play. It is going to be very interesting as we do finally get to see the full games play out, continued strategy develop round after round, and more importantly, if a team does have, of course, those strong positions set up, how is it going to manipulate the rest of the lobby? Well, we'll just have to find out, Zeke.
Thank you guys so much. I love that Monster D-Face used that word develop, right? Because this is set lobbies, you might think, okay, well, maybe it's like maybe easier, sort of, in a weird, different kind of way. Not necessarily. Remember, we're in the upper bracket. We're trying to either get a victory out, go to grands. We're trying to stay in the upper bracket. If we can't find one of those, or we drop down to the lower bracket, it's very complex, a very complex situation. Now, we highlighted them just a moment ago, uncontested over at Grimgates, Peterbot and Pollo. So, obviously, with the return to set lobbies here in semifinals, some people probably have questions. Okay, well, we've seen them perform before, and it was pretty crazy, right? We saw several double elimination, 20 bombs, all this stuff. Well, what does this look like in a set lobby? Vivid, is there maybe some data to back that up?
Yeah, so the big question is, right, we are jumping into set lobbies now. And, you know, of course, in the qualifiers, we don't necessarily have those, but we do have set lobbies in duo cash cups. So who can we actually predict to win games based on what's kind of happened in those duo cash cups? Well, I got a team for you, Peterbot and Pollo. How about the team that has won all 4 of those cash cups? And the reason they have been able to do it, because the amount of victory royales they have been able to pick up. And look just how many they were able to manage to actually get. If you do the math right there, 16 victory royales in the finals of a duo cash cup out of the 24 total games. That gives them a 67% win rate in set lobbies throughout those duo cash cups throughout the season. Kelly, if anybody was going to go ahead and win a game today, it's going to be them.
And it's so crazy because that stat is just obscene, honestly, and it still doesn't do them justice for just how dominant they have been. Of course, we know in week 2 they got first place. They had 118 eliminations. And you know what's crazy with that stat is that literally 5 of their games they did relatively terrible. So they only needed 5 games to beat out second place by 96 points. And that's because in 3 of their games, they were able to drop 20+ elimination games. But it's not just their eliminations, of course. It's not just their drop spot, but it's their communication. They're willing to work together. Their coach that's in their ear all the time. How they are able to condition the rest of the lobby so that other teams aren't even looking for height. If you watch the most recent Cash Cup, duos don't even attempt to go for it. Between the aspect of agility and then, of course, they always have the splash on them, they are able to just absolutely utilize their movement in a very low mobility meta, and they've pretty much just taught everyone to stay to the low ground while they are able to control the high ground with ease.
Love the word that you used there, control, because that is the thing that I want to kind of take a look at right now. How the lobby is affected by Peterbot and Pollo. What do average games kind of look like when they are not in those games and when they are in them? The qualifying round 4 stage was very, very important to look at for that, because that's how teams kind of got here. So take a look at qualifier 2 finals and qualifier 1 finals, the first and third row right there. When a game has Peterbot and Pollo in the end game, there are about 3 high ground changes a game. And then look at the second and fourth row right there. When Peterbot and Pollo are not in the game, there are about 5 high ground changes a game, which just means that, listen, when Peterbot and Pollo are in the game, they're going to have control over it. They're not going to let teams kind of take it from them, and they're going to have it for the rest of the game. And then, of course, when they're not in it, it's going to be up in the air who actually has it. And that's a big part of this format, right, Kelly? Teams are going to be qualifying for grand finals, and they won't be in the competition anymore.
That's right. Who's going to go for Grim Gate? We saw that happen over in EU, where at one point there was like 8 duos landing near or around Grim Gate just for the opportunity to get that medallion and, of course, the amazing Gatekeeper weapon. Is Peterbot and Pollo, though, going to do it in game 1? I think that's the big question, right? Are we literally going to lose our best team for the next 3 days of competition in game 1?
Definitely would not be surprised if they went ahead and did that. But Kelly, if that does happen, then that, of course, will leave Grim Gate open for the taking. But I went ahead and took a look at all of the games from qualifiers 1 and 2 in round 4, because I was curious, how many teams actually have experience landing at Grim Gate? Are any of these teams going to be willing contenders, strong contenders, to actually win games from the Grim Gate POI when it becomes uncontested if Peterbot and Pollo win? Peterbot and Pollo landed there 20 out of 20 games, and there was only one other team that landed there more than 10 times throughout qualifiers 1 and 2 round 4s, and that, of course, was Skittles and Trashy. So in my opinion, they will be a strong contender to go ahead and take over that POI. But still, Kelly, right, not a lot of teams being willing to go to that POI this season, and that is, of course, probably more so the Peterbot and Pollo effect.
Yeah, and that effect is going to be in there if they don't get that victory royale. I'm wondering if there's a possibility if duos are going to allow them to win. What if everyone in the lobby just agrees, a handshake saying, you know what, let's stick to low ground, let them take the Versa VR, and then we can play the next 4 games.
Or, Kelly, what if the other way? What if Peterbot, Pollo, they're in a situation, they can get themselves that victory out, and they say, hey, we're not really a duo to just kind of call it and move on. We're a duo that likes to break records. What if they look to just kind of keep that ball rolling and try and rack up eliminations? Vivid, I'm scared.
Oh, gosh. Don't do it. Just win. Let's get in there.
just win. Let everyone else play the game. I guess it's time to find out together. What will the Kings of High Ground in NA look to do? Let's find out together. Game 1 is kicking off. So, casters, why don't you take it away?
Thank you so very much, Zeke. And that's right, we are now inching our way towards all of this competition this weekend. We keep talking about these set lobbies. These are going to be essentially 100 duos sticking through the next 500. Oh my gosh, my numbers are all over the place. 50 duos, 5 games. It's going to be good fun here, Taco.
Hey, it's not just the players embracing the chaos, it's us over here as well, MDF. I mean, we've been so excited to really just get into the thick of the action, starting off things here today with the upper bracket. And again, keep in mind, if you don't get a Victory Royale today, it's not the end of the world, but you do want to maintain your position in that 6th through 25th on the leaderboard if you want to stay established for upper bracket round day 2.
Yeah, that's right. There is an argument to be made to, of course, stick around for a little bit longer than you'd like on average. However, for the most part, teams are going to look to get their wins, lock their position in for finals, and, of course, move on. And then we'll just have to see it all play out, though, because game number 1 is here. All right, Taco, here we have it. We're jumping right on into things. The upper bracket starts right now.
And see, I really wanted to just like wait before I got into the depths of the topic, right? But you heard the analysts. Vivid and Kelly did a great job breaking it down. It's Peterbot this, it's Pollo that. But the reality of it all, MDF, is the fact that these aren't cash cups any longer. This is an upper bracket FNCS set lobby. And there are ample amounts of teams looking to try and play spoiler, not just to Peterbot and Pollo, but everybody else. Because again, at the end of the day, we're only going to have 5 Victory Royale winners that are going straight to Grand Finals.
I do find this drop spot to be very, very interesting right here because Cold and Acorn are no strangers to being contested, but neither is Muzz and Paper, as last season they essentially had the same exact problem here at this drop. And right now it seems like Edgy and Tavern are finding their eliminations, but Cold is going to get sent back to the lobby as well, to the hands of Krizix and Ymir there. So a great quick pickup here for Yasir and Krizix as they start things off on the right foot.
Could be very problematic stuff, though, for Acorn. Is now he's got to wait for some of this action to essentially fizzle out. And when there's several other teams contesting you at your POI, it can definitely be difficult to try and recover Cold's reboot card and look for that prime opportunity, because every second counts at this level. The longer you spend having to try and reboot your teammate, the less time you're going to have to get that surge strategy online. And surge strategy is another topic of discussion here, because for Peterbot and Pollo, they've been so regularly contested typically at Grim Gate, but now here today, at least for the starting point, nobody else seems to be nearby. So they're going to have to figure something else out.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot harder for them to, of course, find their opportunities to take battles, as teams have been, of course, backing off of the drop. But take a look at Backtalk and Feline right now, who are putting the big pressure here. Also, Crackling and D-Roller looking very good for Backtalk and Feline right now, who have effectively determined the pace of this battle. But D-Roller turns things around. He's got the high ground, and down comes the bolts and the Rafa from above. It looks pretty good to go ahead and put a bit of pressure down low. And man, for the first time, I feel like, Taco, we're seeing some, Zeus belts in action.
Yeah, first time in a while, that's for sure, especially considering that Roller, he doesn't have any dashes. No underworld dashes means that he is quite stationary, but for Backtalk and Feline, too much pressure coming out from a separate angle. Crackly taking full advantage of these builds, getting absolutely decimated by the Roller, and that's going to be an easy cleanup two-piece there. The Roller, Crackly, they've definitely got their surge online.
What a great pickup right there. We talked about the speed of which Pollo and Peterbot would have to get to other players and find essentially tiers potentially nearby, and it seems like they are looking to do just that. So things are, of course, heating up here on the NA region as we're coming out of game number 1. It does seem like a lot of things are happening at once right now, Taco, but that's just the nature of these live events.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to make sure that we can ensure the most ultimate competitive integrity being upheld for all of our competitors here today, because again, when Grand Finals is on the line, MDF, it only makes sense for things to essentially take a little bit of a backseat at times.
Yeah, definitely. So give us a moment as we start to figure things out here, because of course, we're all looking forward to what should be a very exciting upper bracket here. Let's talk a little bit about what this all means, of course, Taco, because we are essentially looking to see who can walk away with a victory, right, out of the 5 games.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be an easy feat by any means, but the desk has got it covered.
Guys, sorry about that. We're just making sure. Apparently, a bus driver went a little too crazy there. I spilled slurp juice again. My bad, guys. It's always me. Anytime something goes wrong in the game, It's me. I've accidentally clicked another button that I wasn't supposed to do that. Now you know it's always me. As we prepare things, we'll let you guys know what's going on as soon as we can. But let's take a moment here. Kind of wanted to focus back in the game, kind of see how things are going. I wanted to focus on these POIs we talked about at the beginning of the show, right? These 4 duos looking to hit a single POI. What does that look like? So we've talked about contested and uncontested in the past, but I wanted to kind of break that down for maybe new viewers that haven't been around Fortnite. They're like, what's happening? Is this something that's good or bad? With 4 duos all looking to hit a single POI, especially something like fencing, like what can they expect? Is that just going to be action? Is that going to be like, hey, look, you land over there, I'm going to land over here, I'm going to go get this box. Just don't look at me. We're going to walk away from each other.
Well, Zeke, the cool thing about this format, right, it being that realistically speaking, to qualify for grand finals, of course, the only thing that kind of matters is that victory royale. Now, of course, there is an argument to kind of be made that you still do need to do well, right? You still need to get top 25 if you want to stay in the upper bracket. But that being said, only the victory royale, meaning in the terms of like qualifying and everything like that, brings up the point that typically in Fortnite competitions, we usually have a leaderboard that kind of matters in the sense of like, oh, you need to get good placement points and you need to get elims consistently. You just need to play consistently. But in a format like this, where you kind of only need 1 game to do well in to get that victory royale, when you are kind of contested, it kind of removes that element of like being like, oh, you know, that 50-50 went bad for us. Now we're like a game behind. I mean, yeah, you are a game behind, but that very next game, you could just win the spawn fight, win that game, and then boom, all said and done, you're already in the grand finals.
And to go to back what you were saying, Zeke, about, 4 teams quad conning a spot, Acorn and Cold has already seen this. Fencing Fields has been a very popular POI this chapter, and we've already seen them have success out of being, I think it was triple con last major. So clearly it kind of depends on the duo. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you're unconned, you're going to have issues with Storm Surge. And it doesn't mean that if you're quad con, like Acorn and Cold are, that you're going to be able to survive out of it. It really just kind of is circumstantial.
Yeah, I kind of think back to like the global championships, right? We had Canada being contested, right? And we always went to their game at the starter to see how kind of that all went. And it almost felt like sometimes being contested, though, like, you're right. It's like a 50-50. You land, you eliminate everybody else. That's really great. But in those times where you can't get the ball rolling or, you don't find a weapon you're looking for, maybe they get the drop on you first. That's such a big drop off, because now you're going, well, I'm eliminated, I'm out. You're gonna get to keep getting points. I gotta go back to the lobby, wait for this game to be done.
Gosh, as I can tell you from my experience as a pro player, like preparing for drop spot fights is so tedious because there's really a lot of work that you kind of have to put in, and the only way to kind of learn what works for you and your team, you just got to put the reps in. You basically have to lose to kind of figure out what does not work in certain situations. What are you kind of looking for at the POI? Where should you go? What chests are the most valuable in terms of their positioning? And how can you kind of get that quote unquote ball rolling, like Zeke kind of mentioned, to actually allow you to win the fight? So much that goes into it, whether it be amount of chests, the amount of materials that you can kind of quickly farm on one side of the POI, and then sometimes elevation is also a big contributor to where some of these teams will be landing when it comes to being contested at a POI.
Yeah, I love that you bring up reps in, because it's the teams that know the ins and outs, the small little nuances of these POIs that really control it. And we've seen what it can do to these fights, especially when talking about the FNCS Global Championships, where Cammy and Seti had to kind of defend their location, and they were able to because they knew exactly where walls could be placed, where they couldn't. So we know exactly what the opposite end of that is. If you don't know every small little detail of a certain part of the map, it can spell disaster for you. It can spell $1 million tournament.
When you put it like that, Kelly, when you put it like that, it does frame quite a bit of things. Thank you for that. I wanted to double back as well, kind of talking about the bush bomb. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, right? It kind of allows people to get kind of these free storm tags. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more? So we're going to see potentially 1, 2, maybe in a few duos build these massive structures, right? And then on the very top, they're going to drop a bush bomb. What happens next?
Basically, you sit in that base, you sit in that bush, and you can kind of take angles, and nobody else on the map can really see exactly where you're at. Now, of course, we are playing with professionals right now. We are in an FNCS. You might be like, well, Vivid, if they're in like a giant base like that, it's really, really hard to hit those shots anyway. Yeah, but we're dealing with pros. They can actually hit those return shots, right? So the bush actually adds that extra element of safety when you are on top of those bases. So any teams kind of rotating by them will surely have to spend a bunch of builds to make sure that they don't have to use a lot of those extra meds, those extra shields that they went ahead and looted up in the early game.
Yeah, and if you're not getting Storm Surge tags through these towers, you're probably going to be going for objectives instead, unless you are Khan. But speaking on the objectives, we obviously a lot of teams going for the Rift Island, and the Rift Island, I feel like we kind of just ignored it this entire chapter. I think that there's a lot that can be offered, and not just one of the only other mod benches that's not in a bunker, but a ton of loot, and then of course vision and mobility, which we know is so important.
Yeah, I think too, like, I think some duos have looked to just return to, like, I don't know if you guys ever remember like the like old school days of Fortnite when you would just walk into a lobby and someone would just build a giant base and you're like, well, I can't do anything. They control that entire mountain. We're good, right? And it seems like with the bush bomb, players are just doing that. We actually saw it quite a bit in EU. They would just build a massive structure super tall up, drop a bunch of bush bombs, and then you're like, okay, cool. So you just control everything that you can see. That's awesome. Oh, you also have thermal DMRs. Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. Storm tags. You're good. You're good on search. That's fine. That's cool, Viv.
Gosh, Storm Surge is also such like a tedious thing that you really do have to put a lot of time in, because when we get down to these set lobbies, pretty much the reason why set lobbies are considered to be just that step up, right? It's very, very consistent in the teams that you are going up against, of course, but everybody that's kind of playing from some of their POIs, they all have these kind of set routes that they like to take, right? These set bases that they like to set up at key points on the map as well, and you kind of have to learn to adapt. Now, obviously, if you go ahead and put in a lot of practice, a lot of scrims against some of these similar teams that we will be finding in the FNCS, and you kind of learn some of those strategies. So it's best to expose yourself to a bunch of the different strategies that you can actually come across when it comes to some of the routes that other teams will be taking throughout the game.
That totally brought me back to Chapter 4, Major 3. Remember when Kanata just decided to not tower up, and instead he was pretending like he was playing Metal Gear Solid, sneaking around and going for tags that way? Maybe we're going to see that again.
I would love to see some of that sneaky play, but I'm getting word. Guess what, guys? We're ready again. Games are back, so our casters are standing by. This is MDF and the best taco. Friends, take it away.
Thank you so very much, Zeke. That's right. Let's get right back into the mix here, of course. We just need to play a little bit of catch-up here, Taco. Of course, the games are underway right now as the action is continuing to unfold.
Yeah, it's looking like we're going to be heading into the action a little bit later than what we had originally anticipated, but it's all good because keep in mind that we are going to be able to get an overview in the next lobby of how some of these earlier zones play out. Jumping into the thick of it, though, with Poyo, it seems as though he's definitely encountered his fair share of struggles here, because this is a Poyo with 2 eliminations, sure, but he's getting hunted down right now by another duo. It's Yasir looking to play spoiler one more time. Poyo, Peter, bot. This might not be your lobby to take it, and in fact, Poyo shut down instantaneously. Krizix and Yasir, 0 chance that they were going to let that elimination get away from them.
Yasir and Krizix are the big bad wolves of the lobby right now. First it was Acorn and Cold, now it's picking up Peterbot and Poyo here, cleaning up what was left of the duo there. That's going to bring them on up to 3 eliminations. What, I'd say a shakeup, a turn of events right now. Take a look at the highlights of how this all more or less unfolded. So Poyo and Peterbot, of course, had a dominating run coming through the qualifying weeks, but as we're jumping into the semifinals now here, although they were doing exactly what we expect them to do, right? Fight teams, continue the W key, whether they need to or not, just keep that pressure, keep that action. This is where it all goes south, Taco. Peterbot falls first, leaving Poyo to fend for himself.
That just looked so greedy, though, from Peterbot. I mean, the immediate dive into another duo's box right after having just freshly finished off a clean elimination onto Snacky and Sunito. Peterbot might be questioning the necessities behind that one, but again, almost can't fault him considering everybody just wants Surge. And establishing that Surge earlier on is just going to make it all the easier for your rotations as the match develops. But Clicks, Epic, this is a familiar sight. Fighting likely over the weapons bunker. It spawns close to Lavish Lair here, but Clix has to be careful. Wants to see if he can get this window peaked. Instead, gonna have to go for the quick wall edit, but still, no real opportunity has been presented just yet for him to try and aggress even further on to Playify and higher.
Yeah, this is really good for Clix and Epic Whale right now. We knew that one of the problems for this team was going to be finding early Storm Surge. So I like the fact that they're finding themselves already in a battle here, and more importantly, not necessarily taking unnecessary damage, right? Which is the hardest thing to do when you're in these types of engagements right here. Now, notice we're not seeing him find too many tags as Clix and Epic Whale are just getting their hands dirty, looking for exchanges, but at the same time, they're not getting punished in return either. So this is a great spot to be in, more or less, and should they just find a few more, or possibly a trade here before this other duo comes in, they'll be in good shape.
And it's not just one other duo that Clix and Epic might have to worry about. A little bit further east of their current position, seems as though two more teams potentially looking to make the approach. See already Pump in the distance, and Pump and Empen are definitely not a duo that you want to find yourself getting pincer between when Playify and Higher are already in your immediate box fight. So curious how that's going to develop later on for Epic and Clix. They're definitely going to need to find some eliminations quickly. It's Kanata trying to connect with some Huntress DMR damage, but it's not that easy.
Yeah, a lot harder to do now with that lead time you have to account for, of course, and you can see Kanata trying to do just that. But, you know, pressure is on right now. Rotates are happening all around them, so you see this is it's going to be a lot harder than it may look to find your Storm Surge, just even regardless if you have some of the best positioning in the game. Clix and Epic Whale back into the action here, so from one duo onto another, but this might be the fatal error, although it does seem like they're forced, right? Their hand is kind of forced here as they're so far slipping below the Surge. And have to pop the eat this banana here to get their HP up. They do still have some extra chug splashes in case things get a little bit more dire, but Clix is going to opt for popping the big pot here first, given that he's got enough time to do so, and then go for the clean exchange. Epic jumps into the box in the front line there. Trashy gets punished, but Clix has to turn this around, and he does just in the nick of time. But there is another duo looking in, possibly deciding if they're going to jump into this fight, but oh, things might actually be in their favor. Yeah, so luckily for Epic Whale and Clix, no one else decides to jump in here. They get the knocks, they get the finishes that they were looking for.
Clix and Epic also not having to expend all of the loot that they were fighting over, dealing with that weapons bunker in the first place. Trouble does continue to build, though. Yamzo and Rise talk about optimal positioning. And Yamzo, now with this waterbending mythic, trying to apply some pressure onto Baka's box, but with the safety of this bush to provide so much natural coverage, Yamzo and Rise, they might be able to try and control the flow of the lobby, control which way players are actually looking to rotate in. And that's another issue too for Clix and Epic and some of those other teams that were kind of straggling over near that bunker by Lavish, because they've got a decent amount of ground to cover. And when you've got players, teams that are as experienced as Yamzo and Rise already establishing optimal positioning, it's going to be so difficult to try and rotate through that.
A lot going on right now. So we can see Booga and Agers looking to set up here. And of all the players competing today, over 640 FNCS Finals appearances collectively across the group. Big numbers here, big action as well, as this is going to be the most contested area of the zone. I'm more surprised to see Booga and Agers opting to sit here, although, I mean, I guess options are pretty limited as they don't have a lot of HP to work with. It seems like this team might have also been victims of the Storm Surge, so tags are going to be absolutely welcomed here, but elimination even more so is what this team is going to need if they want to have a chance. I mean, Taco, tell me, what do you think about this as teams are just starting to collapse in from the zone?
this is full shambles. Unless Bugha can somehow make his way to Ritual's body, he needs that refresh, and he has to hope that there is some form of shield or white heals to go with it, because Ager's completely functioning off of scraps right now. It's kind of miraculous that he's even still standing currently, and Bugha, yeah, just seizes the opportunity immediately. Knew that he had no other choice but to go for that loot, but again, he picks up another bottle of Flowberry Fizz, but still, without a Menkit and only bandages to work with, still not the ideal position that you would expect. So definitely that long rotate from the start has certainly played a key factor here. And it could also have something to do with some of these big surge towers that we've been seeing throughout the map. I know in EU it's been relatively popular, and the way that lobbies are just getting bottlenecked in the mid-map, it's so difficult for teams to actually maintain surge and rotations.
Take a look at this. Clix and Epic Whale have found themselves below the surge, and then you have moments like this where 302 tag swings all that damage your way. Look, that puts him exactly where he needs to be above right now, but the focus from the lobby's coming in from just across the distance, and Clix has to hit those shots when defending himself in these type of moments. But hey, we talk about things that are going to affect the lobby. This is a problematic situation right here. The zone is starting to end on top of the Grim World here, right? Like the Underworld, what's going to happen is teams are going to have this Underworld dash available to them. That means anything can happen right now. No one is safe by any means, because before you know it, someone can dash into your box, right? We've seen that happen time and time again. So this can be pretty much the wild card factor right here for any duo.
So I like how Clix and Epic were actually splitting their duo responsibilities in that instance. We saw Epic holding the wall, meanwhile Clix, he's trying to prioritize, just getting some of that sniper damage online. Again, getting aggressive, but oh, just a little bit too far. Clix finds himself punished, gets the knock, but in the process, might have to trade himself out. Epic is going to go for the revive, though. Might be able to stick it. But no, the lobby focus is just unbearable currently.
Yeah, it's tags coming from really from above. It's not even to the left and right. It was a team above him, but luckily everything does end up coming. And it's actually Reet and Ritual who are looking down on Clix and Epic Whale. Little does he know that that could have been the end of game number 1 for them. And this is the most critical time in this game right here. We're inside the top 20. This full commitment to this entire run that's been laid down for all of the competitors so far. And now the placement points are going to start racking up tremendously here. Should you be able just to survive a little bit longer. As we start jumping into what's happening here, our EU, Paco, and Mixin team, this is a sleeper duo, gets an exchange out of the way, unfortunately, taking out Muzz in the process there. So trades happening left and right. We're pulling away from the Underworld rivers and now onto the POI itself. If only Boyo and Peterbot were a little bit more passive, this would have been a game possibly in the books for them.
I don't think that word is in their vocabulary, MDF, but as far as Ritual is concerned, operating as a solo currently could be difficult. Ager's just trying to get some semblance of hype maintenance, but it does a decent job at flagging down Epic and Clix on their rotate. So at least gonna buy Ager's a little bit more time here, possibly even able to throw up a facade to Clix and Epic, like, hey, it's not just me. It all depends, though, on whether or not Clix and Epic are really aware of what that elimination feed has been looking like, as Clix not content with being forced to kind of operate through this low ground. Rapid just on the other side of these builds. And Batman Bugha as well, trying to stay wary, create a little bit of space still, but Clix and Epic, they just want to keep things moving. And with that river of sticks to their advantage, they've really just got to look out for the high ground now, because Seek and Dash have taken over.
We've seen Seek and Dash win a game as well from these types of position before too, so this is exciting to watch start to play out here for Dash and Seek. There might just be a huge opportunity for them presenting themselves right now, but I'm looking at the feed. Epic, Whale's gonna fall. Batman Bugha's down as well. Cooper and Kanata have a chance here as some of the juggernauts are being crossed out of the lobby here. Clix is left to run by himself. Tail tucked between his legs here. Meanwhile, Yamzo and Rise have a chance as well to solidify themselves straight to the finals here in game 1.
It's always nice when you can be the first one. Straight victory royale into watching the rest of the competition But again, they've got to deal with all these other teams still trying to duke it out as well. Yamzo Rise making a valiant attempt here now, operating through the secondary height layer, but finding themselves just suppressed a little bit further. They've got to be careful, though, with some of these rotates. A lot of teams kind of hovering towards this mid-ground territory, and nobody seems like they want to try and stay playing to the back of the zone. All these teams, MPen, Pump, trying to make sure that they stay as full forward as possible with this zone pool deep into the underworld.
NPen and Pump have had just a spectacular performance over the last couple of weeks, continuing to trend in the right direction, really standing themselves out as a solid duo to look out for here as we start gearing up towards the finals. But you got to make it there first. Cooper's going to jump into a battle here with Kanata, dashes past the enemies, and this is what we talked about, that unpredictability that can occur here when you start taking teams here on the river of the underworld. Everyone has dashes, everyone has the opportunity to reposition themselves, and if you let your guard down, that'll be it. Kanata by himself here inside a top 10 situation, still an impressive performance nonetheless, but it's only going to get more and more difficult here now.
He's just running out of builds. That refresh could be a lifesaver, though. Onto Rapid. A good punish from Kanata, but again, the high ground. It's Yasir and Krizix all the way from the starting point of this lobby. They have just had this shutdown semblance, and this is looking like they are primed to take this Victory Royale home.
No
Kanata,
mats.
as a solo, is trying.
No one has mats on high ground. No one has mats on low ground. Maybe Pars does. The edit comes through. Kanata has to hit the shot that matters. What a genius edit there to swap the cone and recognizes there's an indestructible rock in front of him. But Krizix and Yasir haven't stopped either, but Pars is going to get the best of them. It's a 2v1 situation. Yasir and Krizix close the deed in the end. And from the Frenzy Farms, 4 teams contesting the drop taco. They go straight to the finals.
That first elimination onto Cold seemed like it was their catalyst throughout the duration of this first lobby MDF. They just took full advantage. They got that early surge. They also made sure to full punish Peterbot and Poyo later on in the 3rd and 4th zones. I mean, the fact that they chased them as long as they did, they were just so intent on making sure that they kept this momentum running.
That was probably by far the best game this duo has had all year long, and with standout, and I mean it, standout eliminations through and through from beginning to end. I mean, even there, taking down the likes of Bolts, Pars. How many FNCS champions did this team wrap up and scrape up under the belt? Well, the count continues as Krizix and Yasir do it for game number 1. So with that, let's go on and jump onto the desk.
Thank you guys so much. Congratulations to this duo. Guess what? They got themselves the first victory out of this season. And the first victory out they get of the season is the one that locks them into grand finals. That has to feel just absolutely incredible to know all of the hard work they've been pouring into this competition. To just say, look, after game number 1, we're going to grands, baby. We'll be seeing y'all there.
Listen, I had a big question at the start of the day, and that was how many of these teams can actually do well with the medallion, being that so many of the teams on this region are unpracticed with it. And Yasir and Krizix shut down my point instantly in game number 1. Shame on me. Victory Royale right out of the gates after they do secure the medallion. What a win.
You know, obviously, a lot of this dialogue is going to be about Peterbot and Poyo and how can you take them down. And when they're able to get so many eliminations and able to get so many wins, it seems like it's impossible. But Bellamar and Krizix did exactly what you needed to do, in that they didn't allow them to be conditioned. They didn't run away. Instead, they went for the W key and got the eliminations based off of that, because I think Peterbot and Poyo are so used to controlling the lobby that everyone else kind of just runs away or boxes up from them. They aren't that used to currently teams kind of facing them and going for the 50-50, and that's exactly what Krizix did, and I think that's why we saw the success there. Also proving that it doesn't matter if you're tripled, quadruple conned at a POI, if you're able to get what you need out of it, you can win a game.
That's right. Krizix, Yazir will be seeing you guys at the FNCS Grand Finals here in Major number 2. They'll look to fight for their spot for not only winning the whole thing, but of course, a spot to the Global Championships later on this year. A couple other things we wanted to highlight out of the game, as Kelly kind of touched on Peterbot and Pollo, right? Not quite going the way we're kind of used to seeing. Now, to be fair, anytime we tune in, we're seeing them go absolutely crazy, right? But as this like initial game kind of started, did we expect it to go quite this way?
I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, in the sense that it's no surprise to see this duo taking some fights early on in the game, right? None of these are really required in any sense, right? It's just been a team throughout the season who every single game it feels like they've got a point to prove. They want to just continuously show everybody that, hey, by the way, we're in the lobby and we can drop 10, 20 eliminations whenever we so please. So to see the aggression, Kelly, I'm not necessarily surprised with, but we usually see them win the fights.
That's true. We do in Cash Cups, but when it comes to Qualifier 2 that we had 2 weeks ago, half of the games that Peterbot and Pollo had, they went down below 30th place. And that was when they had 10 allotted games. With just the 5 today, are they actually going to get that kind of perfect situation where they can utilize their advantage and make it to the end game? And once they do make it to the end game, they're going to get the victory royale. But this actually isn't that uncommon for this duo. I think we're just a little bit surprised because set lobbies we thought was going to be a different story than qualifier number 2.
Yeah, and just in case maybe you're just tuning in, you're like, what's a set lobby? Well, in qualifiers 1, we kind of just saw there was a bunch of lobbies and you never know who you were going to go up against or even who was going to land at your POI. Set lobbies just mean you're going to be seeing the same 50 duos across 5 games, right? So it's a little more like chess, right? There's a lot more complexity to the situation. I wanted to look at the standings because remember, at the end of this, we want a victory royale that will auto qualify us to grand finals, or we want that top 25 to stay in the upper bracket. Krizix, Yasir, once again, congratulations. They've got themselves the first victory royale on the day, but man, look at that shark in the water. Kanata and Cooper, second place. Okay.
I love Kanata so much because, you know, for me as a player, as this competitor who kind of turned himself into an IGL because he was tired of dealing with all the other IGLs that he felt like was garbage, he always does such a good job of putting he and his duo in a very good spot for Storm Surge. And we saw that throughout that middle game, had a DMR, had that thermal, and just this giant base able to take shots on people that were actually dashing around by the river, right? A lot of these duos, of course, are going to dip their feet in that green river to get that mobility. And Kanata was like, well, listen, I'm going to put up a base right around that river so I can take tags on any of those players that want to come through and get some of that mobility. Just so smart.
Yeah, I feel like we need to put more respect on Kanata's name, the winner of Chapter 4 Major 3. And he said once he won that, he was fine. He didn't need to win anything else. He said, I'm not even going to try at Global Championships. But of course, when he comes out and gets a second place right here and doing it essentially as a solo player, this is what reminds us of why Kanata is an FNCS champion. And speaking of champions, he's joined by Cooper this major, who is a global champion. So this duo right here, I think, is flying under everyone's radar a little bit.
Yeah, and I love that they were tied, Baka and Pars. You know, just legends here in the competitive scene. Now, just keep in mind, that was just game number 1. We have 4 more games to go. Victory royale is what we're looking for. Top 25 is where we hope to stay. But with that being said, you want more action, and so do I. Let's kick it over to our casters to prep us for game number 2.
Thank you so very much, Deacon. That's right. One thing that was really interesting about that game was the first 2 teams, Taco, that we saw essentially get into conflict on the broadcast turned out to be inside the top 3 because Baka and Pars also had essentially the first set of eliminations there as they're contested at their drop.
Yeah, and it comes as no surprise, really, given the fact that Baka, Pars, they're another one of our teams that I think has a tendency. We've seen them a lot kind of fluctuate more towards those forecast towers. They definitely like to try and take advantage, so it's not surprising to see them in a little bit of a stickier situation, and they're not the only team either. I love that touch onto Kanata and Cooper because when you keep in mind that Kanata and Cooper, they're a team that is definitely embracing the true element of adaptability. Just think about their initial draw spot. It was the Mary Marigold. Well, guess what? The Marigold had to set sail. And so where did that leave Cooper and Kanata? Practically landing on sticks and stones, but they're making it work at Charon's Crossing, and it seems like they've really managed to develop a surge strategy, as Viva was touching on, that's working out quite well for them, and they were definitely controlling a lot of the flow, but we get to see just how that shapes up in game number 2.
That's right, game number 2 is here, and on the topic of Cooper and Kanata. Cooper is one of those players that once he finds his footing and he has a duo that can essentially give him the confidence, back him up on the calls, he is a player that stands and shines in those types of moments, especially when it comes out to engagements with other opponents. That's something that we've learned through the interviews with him throughout the last several months. But as we're jumping into game number 2 here, this is 2 of 5. There are very limited amount of opportunities right now to punch your way straight to the final. So if you're one of the few here at the fencing fields, you feel a little bit excited or happy at the fact that Yasir is no longer here. Krizix is no longer here. Our Hispanic brothers have moved on straight to the final. So now we get to see just Acorn and Cold have a little bit more room to work with, right?
Yeah, but where one team rotates out, another might choose to rotate in, so that's going to be something kind of stuck in the back of Acorn and Cold's minds, and they're not the only one. Muzz and Paper as well are also likely keeping that in mind, because nothing is guaranteed until you actually secure your victory royale in the upper bracket.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually shocked a 4th team decided to replace Krizix and Yasir there at the drop, but clearly it did not go well. It just shows you what preparation can do for a person. Rapid and Batman Booga found themselves in the end game. Batman Booga dropped a little bit early in the later stages, but Rapid still managed to secure a top 10 as far as positioning is concerned. This is another, again, triple con location. Pump and N-Pen are one of the standout duos there. As we jump on over to the Grim Gate here, Peterbot and Boyo with the letdown performance from last game, but yeah, I'll just chalk it up to it. It is being what it is. Out of these 5 rounds, I mean, Peterbot and Boyo have shown that they have likely some of the best odds at picking up a victory royale here today. So I say don't sweat it, as there are that big win condition that can come in at any given time. But Taco, let's get into the action here. We have a fight.
It's at Pleasant Piazza of all places, but this is not a pleasant engagement right now for 7 Mil. Just trying to aggress into Eclipse's box. Clip's gonna fall back just a little bit because his duo is definitely hurt. Poppy trying to create a little bit more space, and 7 Mil just obliterated the moment that he turns the corner. Too much off that peak, and now Poppy actually gonna be able to clutch things up here for Eclipse. And now the focus can just be on re-establishing their loop path, knowing that they've got a little bit of their surge online, but definitely gonna have to be careful because you can see hovering in the distance, Baka and Pars, since they're dropping at that shipment station, it is very likely they'll have an opportunity to third party over at Pleasant Piazza.
Yeah, definitely. Blake and Macwood, though, here at the Glen Glacier, already looking to push in for the fight here. Looking to take the wall right now. You can see a little bit of protection coming from behind. Something is telling Macwood that might have to be careful. Little does he know, it's a team floating in just on the outskirts here on the eastern side. So given a couple tags, they're going to come back. Macwood looking for a refreshing angle. Finds that golden bot's already out on the outside, looking for new angles. And it's not looking good right now for Macwood at all, who's seems to be a little bit frazzled in this situation here. Now things turn on Blake as well here. Taco into the box he goes, and Blake goes down and now boxed up and finished.
Blake nearly managed to turn that one around as well, but just a really nice split up from Ozone and Golden. You've got Ozone applying pressure to the floor that Blake was trying to find a little bit of a safety net from, and now Macwood kind of left a little bit alone for the moment, but it might only be a temporary relief because now Percent, Bravo, they're choosing to filter in. Coming from that Summit base camp, Summit Temple, it's not too surprising to see them look to try and get some more surge online, given that they didn't go for that initial 2v2 against Curve and Tyler.
Yeah, Ozone and Golden Bot forced to the low ground here. As much as they may want to finish that elimination, finding material right now is much more important as they need to set up a defensive stance here. Percent and Duo are up above, looking down, and Macwood's just waiting in the stalls here, hoping that things simmer down. But the zone is on the way, so Bravo and Percent are going to rotate out. No need for them to stay around. The shut down with Peter Bot and Pollo. Let's see how things are going to start to fare out for them this time around, as once again we know that finding a fight is essentially the hard part for this duo. Finishing the fight is where they do tend to shine most right now.
Typically, we've already seen Peterbot and Pollo have at least 1 or 2 eliminations online by this point, but you can definitely tell the differences in terms of the set lobby versus some of those open qualifier weak competition lobbies. But Clicks, Epic, they're looking to have at least some repeat instances from game number 1. They definitely had success surrounding that weapon bunker in terms of the fact that Clicks able to connect with a really nice sniper shot, but now without that sniper in tow, he's gonna have to figure out surge strategies elsewhere. And he might be able to find it onto M-Pen and Pump, but he's got to be wary. Doesn't want to exchange his own shield and white HP for it, given that he doesn't have a whole lot of shield to regenerate in the first place. Yeah, he's got the Flowberry Fizz for right now, but you need these resources to last throughout the duration of the actual weapon bunker fight.
Yeah, for sure. But one thing we noticed about Clicks and Epic Well has been well is their early game tags, and being able to set themselves up for the surge is going to be important. We have replays as other action is happening here as well. Kanata and Cooper continuing the pace here, finding Can and hunting him down here at the Underworld. Now, this to me is one of the bigger surprises, as in lead up, we didn't see any teams moving towards the Underworld, where right now it seems like Kanata and Cooper are trying a much different strategy. That alone can catch potentially Pollo and Peterbot off guard right now, as it seems like whatever their strategy is here in game 2, it's not quite working just yet.
What's really crazy to me is seeing Pollo and Peterbot, of all people, being the ones to surge base up. So yeah, just kind of continuing that narrative, MDF. They have definitely not been having an easy go at getting that surge online. No guaranteed eliminations when it comes to the set lobby. Ritual and Reed, on the other hand, though, they might have a prime opportunity here up against the likes of Aviv and Chubbs. Chubbs already trying to get as much health back as possible off the chug splashes, but again, he's so split from Aviv currently, and with Ritual just bearing down onto Aviv's walls, the only thing Ritual really needs to keep in mind is how exposed he is from behind. He doesn't want to give any opportunities for a third party from a distance, especially with that waterbending mythic in the game, to try and smash his HP in the process while he's bearing down onto Chubbs and Aviv. But 2 really well-placed shots. Ooh. That's going to be another straight onto Aviv. 1v2 practically. Did have Reed for the backup just in case, but 2 beautiful eliminations, and they could not have come at a better time, because look at who it is in the horizon. Bolts, Bryce, and another team still over towards that horizon, just trying to apply pressure with Thunderbolt Zeus.
That was so impressive. Ritual, not only did he land a monstrous shot with the pump, but he swapped to the DMR, and we already know that does 70 if you are point blank range. So, hey, trusty weapon to swap to nonetheless.
Finally seems as though things have calmed down a bit here. Another important topic of discussion we'll have to wait on was Rise Yamzo. Seems like they were able to clear up 1 engagement in their favor, having that single elimination in tow. Single Flowberry as well. Kind of just waiting to see where their next strategy is planning on taking them in terms of getting a little bit more damage online, because we did see a handful of some of our more experienced teams even struggling in that first lobby, MDF. They did not seem to have an easy time at establishing that healthy amount of surge damage that we've been so conditioned to seeing these pros maintain, but these DMR shots certainly going to help the case here for Rise.
Here's Cold set up. using the bush here at the top of the base. This is going to be the more popular strategy you'll see in these types of upper or skilled tiered lobbies. It's the safest way for you to get a free line of sight on your entire perimeter. Wouldn't be wise for anyone to try to fire back and give up your position, and just like that, if you're looking out for a little too long, you're gonna get spotted out. So Cold with the excellent tags here. And who better than Cold to be up there, as he is the marksman of the duo, for sure.
Paco and Mixon.
What do you think about this?
You know what? EU versus NA has just been rampant all over socials, right? Especially because of the whole Peterbot Pollo debacle. But seeing Paco and Mixon this far out at sea, it is a dead side rotation for the ages. It does seem, though, as though they have been spotted out by another duo that's actually still landside, but Mixon and Paco, you have to imagine that they're banking that the 2 eliminations they currently have are going to be enough to provide them with the damage that they need, but it's clearly not, because shots from distance continue to rain in, so players definitely looking to try and collect as much damage as possible on these two. And Mixon and Paco, they wanted the dead side rotate, but now their issue is, can they even make it back to shore?
But hold up, let's jump in with Peterbot and Pollo right now, who are in and on the shore right now in a battle with Convict, Vanillas, and Reciprocals duo there on the low ground. And you see, most teams would stop fighting when you have another duo on top of you, but Peterbot and Pollo have already shown us that this is all but an exercise for them. Let's see if Peterbot and Pollo can climb out of the rut, essentially. They're sandwiched between all of these different duos here. An unprecedented 0 eliminations right now for the duo here. Could it just be pressure's on and they need to find their footing?
Well, with the zone starting to close, Peterbot didn't want to waste any more time, recognizing the fact that they're going to have to traverse through some very familiar territory here at Grim Gate. They will have a moment to get some shield regen online, and Peterbot still with 2 shield potions, just going to opt to expend 2 of them. But they just want to get ahead of the rest of the traffic that was following them, MDF. Their intent is definitely trying to play as aggressively as possible, or as they can manage, but these teams are just not folding. It is not the Peterbot and Pollo that we were witnessing through the open quals, but that's to be expected, because again, we are looking at some of NA's finest competing in upper bracket day 1.
Or what we're looking at right now is just a different level of seriousness coming out of the competitors, right? As you know, in different stages of the game, you might take a little bit more risk where you wouldn't as you start getting closer and closer to semis and finals. Because there are clear decisions that you can make as a player that will mitigate your risk and play a little bit more defensively, maybe even more passively when it comes down to engagement. So I think we're just seeing the better side of the overall competition here on the NA region, and that alone is, you know, honestly pretty exciting.
Well, that, and I think a lot of players can also recognize when a team is desperate for surge. Rise and Iyamzo could possibly be in that position, but Rise, he's just hoping to scrape away altogether. Iyamzo going to be able to provide some necessary backup, and that's going to be a quick elimination onto Zeus. So for the time being, Rise, a chance to breathe and a much-needed refresh on some resources. That's going to make it all the easier for Iyamzo to maintain his. Was almost very problematic, though. If Rise had actually managed to get knocked there, and Iyamzo had been left as a potential solo, it's very annoying trying to go for a reboot in the mid-game.
Iyamzo and Rise looking for the redemption season here. Jumping with Muzz and Paper. Still in the home territory of the fencing fields here. Little did Booga and company know. They've rotated on out. And then you still have Ozone as well. Just lurking here in the basement. I do wonder if they're aware of one another's presences here. Yeah, it does seem like Ozone is a solo. So someone took his duo out. It's very clear that they're sticking around here, not making it any more easy for him to get his pickup.
You have to remember Golden and Ozone having been involved with that initial skirmish over at Grand Glacier up against Blake and Macwood. And that was right before Bravo and Percent had managed to rotate a little bit further north to the Grand Glacier POI. So Ozone left to fend for himself, but he's being smart about it. Stealth is definitely your best friend when you are left in that solo position. But the only placement that I think a lot of players have on their minds currently is that first place position. They want the Victory Royale. Granted, maintaining 6th through 25th, sure, it's nice, but it's so much nicer to just be guaranteed grand finals.
Everyone wants it. Everyone's fighting for it. Let's take a look at Acorn and Cold right now. I like this. I like that they've long left their draw spot and they've been playing for more and more key positioning here. Still at max material. Already have a set of eliminations based off of course, the first 2 they picked up. So the points are looking good. They have a lot of time to make up for as they were eliminated so early last game. If nothing else this day, you still want to finish up towards the top of the standings, of course, because you want to remain within the upper bracket here. See it? Peterbot and Boyo back into the mix here. So looking to put up some numbers. 30 damage below. This is a first for Peterbot and Boyo. And usually in this type of situation, I mean, you see it, this is a team that can handle the 1v2s, handle the bad hands that are being dealt in. Just like that, Peterbot proves that he can do it by himself while Boyo was applying pressure from the angle there. Very, very well played, and finally they put some numbers on the board now.
And they needed that because just look at the damage threshold, barely above, and that's off the back of 2 clean eliminations there by Peterbot. So now the focus gonna return back towards just rotating inwards, but seems as though Peterbot has caught wind. Some other players kind of hovering around the baseline of Rift Island. All these pre-existing builds too could make for a very tricky rotate there for Peterbot and Poyo. But you have to admit, the thermal scope, its stocks are certainly up right now. As far as today's lobby is concerned, I mean, that big bush bomb being reintroduced has definitely shaken things up here.
Yeah, definitely shifts things around. Zooks is gonna find Poyo there in a full finish in the feed. I wonder if that is up to date, as that would be a huge change of events here. Meanwhile, Cold and Acorn are going to do just enough to fend off the team that was on top of them. But so they're going to have to, of course, continue to rotate here throughout this mess of a zone. And here you get to see from Zook's perspective, Zooks and Shadows were playing the zone here. Boyo and Peterbot had no idea that they were nearby, and
wow,
it's the water mythic that melts Boyo before he can even react. And then Peterbot gets slammed by Playify right afterwards. They just aren't catching a break just yet.
It's part of the problem. The longer your fights take, the further outside of zone you are, the less opportunity you're gonna have on these rotations and maintaining your own life in the process. This Ritual Re, if they're not careful, they might find themselves getting picked off as well. But one thing that they do have to their advantage is a nice threshold of surge damage so far. So that's gonna keep them just completely focused on moving forward, trying to get to edge of zone as quickly as possible. But just look at what lies in front of them. Acorn, Cold, a plethora of so many other duos just already trying to landlock this edge of zone.
Huge tag here onto Sprite and a finish for Ritual. He was quick and clean with it, but Shore boxes up his teammate there. Not enough to get the save though, as the angles were good from Ree, and that's the benefit of course, having that Flowberry Fizz effect in motion. But Feline and Backtalk from the zone into the box here. You can just hear the surge going down right now. It's not a problem for Ritual and Reed, of course, who are so far above, but other teams facing the wrath.
I'm also just hearing the waterbending mythic. Someone is definitely trying to utilize it to break down builds. Even though it's not as ideal, it does have infinite ammo. Right now, what Feline needs, though, is for Acorn and Cold to back off. And they will fall back momentarily, but this doesn't look like an exchange that Cold and Acorn are willingly ready to give up. It seems as though they really want to just hold down their current position, and so the intention may have just been to threaten Feline, make him recognize the fact, hey, there's another duo hanging out in this mid layer. Better just pull back entirely.
Yeah, and there's no reason to risk it. But what a tag from Backtalk to keep himself in the game. 25 HP. And that could have been everything that he needed right there. But hey, it's an elimination, and it does seem like things are settling in. He will have to find just another one if he wants to, of course, lose the pressure here. But it's on now more than ever. I don't know, if I'm him, I'm thinking I just hide. I'll be honest, I'll play for placement points at this time. You just can't afford to get tagged at all.
As soon as Surge comes into play, if it comes into play, he only has 25 HP to work with. One tick and he's done.
Oh, so it's actually Reet. Is it Reet with the mythic water bending? So that's what I heard over the shoulder. I thought someone was firing at them, but no, it's Reet letting it loose here.
He's not the only one, by the sounds of it. But it was really only a matter of time before pros started taking more notice of this waterbending mythic. The fact that it doesn't have that fall off in terms of its accuracy is just too problematic. Cooper, though, another player that is definitely very accurate, and that's a nice refresh for him, Kanata. A good pathway clear up as well for them to try and tarp through some of these low ground. Just so many pre-existing builds as is, though. And Booga, second lobby in a row now, we've seen him rocking these wings of Icarus. It does seem as though Booga is definitely a big fan of making the rotates, with that item having also been brought back.
Yeah, he's got the wings of Icarus, and he also hasn't picked up a regular AR this entire time, nor an SMG. He's running the DMR all the way into the late game. So very interesting strategy, but it also shows you that top tier competitors will just have different strategies, like in general, and they'll build their loadouts around those different types of playstyles. For Clix and Epic Whale, you can see the SMG is going to be a big factor in their high ground pressure right now. But let's take a look at this. This is a favorite right here to do some good work this weekend. Iamzo and Rise, 3 eliminations now. Dead side rotate first to the punch here as they're moving around the outskirts, and it couldn't be looking better right now for this team who has just a little bit of mats, but it's Paco and Mixon who's above them, still alive as well. So it seems like the water rotates played out well for them.
Keep in mind, too, that Rise and Iamzo, they're split between Pantheon Path and Lil Villa. There is a radio tower nearby, so if they have forecasts online, which I'm almost inclined to believe based on how much they're actually moving ahead of everybody else and doing a great job of maintaining their positioning, could be a very big advantage for them. This lobby continues to unfold. Muzz Paper caught up for a moment, but will find an opportunity to get some shields slightly regent here. Down to Muzz's last little bit of Flowberry Fizz, though. Team underneath, it's gonna be Reed and Ritual getting absolutely shredded here. Big refresh, though, for Muzz and Paper.
How unfortunate for Reed and Ritual right there, who was so set up for success, but opting to rotate late was the biggest mistake they could have made right there. And meanwhile, on high ground, it's Clix and Epic Whale. No strangers to, of course, taking victory royales in this endgame, but Kanata and Cooper are giving them a run for their money. They just haven't stopped contesting them for height, and you can see it has really started to backfire here onto the inventory of Clix, who's down to 80 builds. Cooper down to 160, so it's starting to wear and tear on everyone, but the heals are looking tight right now for Kanata and Cooper, as they are still very much in a healthy and wealthy situation up top. Paxton and Mixon, though, no mats here. Taco, they will have to get involved into another fight if they want to see the rest of the lobby here play out.
They've definitely got the capabilities. What they need, though, is the closure. And Ryzen and Yamzo are not the team you want to tangle with in this kind of position. Clix Epic, though, certainly feeling the tides turning against them here. Down to their last little bit of HP. Clix will find elimination onto Paco. That makes it 3, but no mats left to function with. That's going to be all Rise and Yamzo on the come up here now, working their way, tarping through this low ground, but the pressure steadily being applied just from directly behind. Hello, it's threats out of nowhere.
And Yamzo here as a solo on the low ground as well. It's looking like it's a lot of solos here in the mix, but one of the few duos still alive, Cooper, Kanata. As I spoke a little too soon, Kanata falls, and it looks like from high ground to the low ground, and now a man down. Cooper has to play this one out by himself. Agers and Bugha, the duo lurking in the mist here. The DMR holder himself, the team that shouldn't have had the pressure of the high ground position, end up doing what they need to do to win the game there, Taco.
Can only imagine the way that Bugha and Agers are cheesing right now, knowing that they have just secured their slot in the grand finals after only the second match of today's 5 games, MDF. And they did it in a pretty dominating fashion as well, because high ground, Vivin mentioned it, when Peterbot and Pollo are not in the lobby, on average, it was swapping around 5 times, and we saw a plethora of high ground switch-ups happen throughout the duration of this game, but ultimately, it was Bugha and Agers that were able to last-minute maintain it and just suppress everybody else.
Yeah, and Bugha is definitely not really equipped to take high ground with the loadout that he's playing. That DMR is not great for close quarter engagers, but hey, it works out here in game number 2. It's all about timing and execution as Agers and Bugha win that one and go straight to the finals. So what a win for Bugha and Agers. I mean, they're, if anything, one of the guarantees we could have expected to get to finals. So with that, Zeke, catch us up on your thoughts on that.
You know, MDF, we can never count out World Cup champion that is Bugha. And when you pair him up with someone like Agers, you know greatness awaits. Now, of course, in that situation, like the casters called out, you know, Bugha's loadout was a little unique, to say the least, Vivid.
Listen, Zeke, I'm happy that you kind of brought that up, because I'm going to be honest with you. After these 5 games wrap up, I'm going to be hitting the vase, and I'm going to be looking at Bugha, because, Kelly, we noticed something in the inventory that seems to be a common theme for Bugha for some reason. It's going to be the Wings of Icarus. What is Bugha cooking?
Yeah, we saw that in game 1, and honestly, the way that he uses it isn't how a lot of the rest of the lobby or even the rest of the players are using these Wings of Agility. They're instead using it just to kind of traverse this heavy tree area and then kind of fly under the radar just a little bit. But of course, we have to look at how they were able to steal away high ground from Cooper and Kanata there. And you know, we heard our caster saying it, that we don't know if this DMR is good for these end games, but according to Bugha, it's working out quite well. And honestly, I was not expecting to see the Wings of Icarus in his loadout all the way at zone 10.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Taco kind of pointed it out as well. A stat that we've kind of called out earlier on: when Peterbot and Pollo are not in the lobby, they're on average 5 high ground changes per game. When they are in the lobby, there's only 3. So them being eliminated in these first 2 games right now has allowed a lot of teams to go up and actually fight for the higher ground. And honestly, I have no idea how Bugha and Agers even ended up there, Kelly, because it was like, oh, Kanata and Cooper were fighting for it. They seemed like they had it, and then I blinked, they're up there.
Well, you know who had it before Kanata and Cooper was the duo that loves to grab early game, or that early height, and that of course is Clix and Epic Whale, and it looked like they were going to do a pretty good job with it, but when they grab it by zone 8, so much can happen and so many materials can be lost in an instant, and it looks like that kind of happened to them. I do actually really appreciate when they started to lose height, they dropped down immediately and they were able to kind of utilize a little bit of that survival in the mid to low ground there. But Clix and Epic Whale coming out strong again. We do want to see these victory royales from these teams, because that's how you punch your ticket into the grand finals, but also just performing well, making sure that you're still in the top 25 if you can't grab that VR is so vital.
And as you can see right there, we saw a sneak peek of what their position was looking at just in that 8th zone, right before those moving zones actually start, right before quote unquote end game begins. And I saw that Clicks only had 55 builds, which is of course not going to be enough to go ahead and sustain up on the higher ground if anybody decides to look up and kind of pressure you for that. As we saw right there, they had 0 builds, got in the box and got that little bit of a refresh to continue their end game. But again, Zeke, just not enough to hold the higher ground, taking it that early.
That's right. Look, it's okay, right? We still have 3 games, and as long as they're in that top 25, we keep going, right? We got to stay up in the upper bracket. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. Let's take a look at our standings. I kind of want to see how things are going. As I just mentioned, we either want a victory royale to qualify straight to the grand finals, or we want to stay in the top 25. Currently, Kanata and Cooper still holding down that spot. They kind of came into that game as that #1 seed, so to speak, right? Obviously, they're in 3rd, but the other duos have got themselves the victory royale. You know, Kelly, I love to see Kanata in this situation and paired up with Cooper. I just feel like they just have so much momentum right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw them have a great game 1. Kanata with 5 eliminations just by himself, and it was a solo player. And then going into game number 2 right here, Kanata and Cooper holding high for a little bit, but then dropping to the extreme low when it mattered most. Kanata did go down, but Cooper was able to last just a little bit longer. And by making these placements, even just a few placements can get you so many points.
And the high ground, they're going to be helped out in terms of gaining that position by, of course, the aspect of agility. As you can see right there, the Grimgate shotgun in hand as well. But yeah, like you mentioned, Kelly, their ability to go ahead and switch layers, play different styles in the end game. You mentioned it after game number 1, you feel like they're a little bit underrated this season. And game number 2, game number 1, both of them being pretty good performances out of the duo. I think I might have to agree with you.
Okay, friends, I love it. I want to see the second page. All right, we got some names up here. Yamson Rise, Clicks up at well there in 7th. Batman Booga, another Booga. As we flip on over, I had to. I'm so sorry. As we flip on over to this next page, though, look who's lurking in the winds here. Muzz and Paper. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Muzz and Paper, we know that they were going to be landing over in that fencing fields, and we know that that's quad-conned, except the team that won game number 1 was coming from there, so a little less contestation for that duo, and that might be the reason why we see them jumping up 23 placements. But another duo I see moving up, oh, of course, it's the EU duo of Paco and Mixon. What are they doing over here?
Listen, all eyes will be peeled, whether you're an NA fan or an EU fan. You will want them to do a certain performance. Probably depends on where you are from, how you're going to swing in terms of what you think of how that duo is going to perform this FNCS. But I love the fact that Kelly brought up being contested in the early game, because now with the second game on, Booga and Agers qualifying for grand finals, no longer in the competition. Mount Olympus has opened up. Zeke, who's going to go ahead and land over there? And honestly, that DMR, it's unspoken. It's going to be very good for Storm Surge.
The question is, though, Viv, right? Will someone look to make up that change, right? You could just say, look, maybe we've practiced this. Maybe we haven't. Maybe this is that opportunity. Kelly, do you think it's worth it? I mean, at this stage, right, we only have 3 more. She said, yes, that's it. All right, that's it. Vivid, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a strong POI. Only Booga and Agers are going there. If you go over there and get it uncontested, why not?
Not just the DMR, but the aspect of speed. It's a good POI. Yeah. There is some important big teams around them like Rise and Niamzo, but I don't see a reason for duos not to try and land in Mount Olympus.
Okay, all right. I like it. We're getting closer now. We have 3 games left to go. I definitely feel like it's the pressure starting to mount, right? A lot of these duos are starting to think, okay, maybe we need to just pull all these we can't stop pulling punches. We need to try and get this victory out to get ourselves through the grands.
Yeah, there are only 3 opportunities, 3 games left on the day. But honestly, listen, this feels like a marathon, not a sprint. There are so many different ways to qualify this weekend through the semifinals that you know, the first 2 games haven't gone well. I wouldn't necessarily begin to get nervous just yet. But you know, if you're one of the teams aiming for a victory royale, let's get it done now.
What do you think, Kelly? Just kidding, Kelly. I'm so
ready
sorry.
For the games.
Yeah, I wanted to hear what you had to say, but the battle bus is ready. We are too. This is game number 3.
Right. We are here. The action is happening, Taco, and we're right back into the mix of things.
Third time is the charm, but for which duo exactly? That's the ultimate question that remains, but keep in mind, this is only 3 out of 5 of our upper bracket day 1 matches that we have taken place here in this weekend of semis action, and Muzz already found himself with the turnaround though onto Raze. Raze nearly thought he had him, but excellent positioning there from Muzz, kind of juking around some of that natural coverage provided here at Fencing Fields. Ranger Pistol going absolutely ballistic there as well. Definitely a pivotal moment here. And Muzz, he's looking to keep things going as well. Just trying to collect what little bits he can, because he definitely would like some shield. Most players do though.
Yeah, we've seen this from Muzz and Paper before, right? Land quick, find an elimination, but they're the type of duo that will stick around. They don't tend to rotate out of Fencing Field early. They didn't in game 1. They definitely did not in game number 2 either. So for Muzz to secure the Slurp Truck by himself and now lose Paper, it does seem like things are going to have to play out a little bit differently. Consistency is still at the top of mind for this duo right now. So just like that, all of a sudden we have a different scenario of playing out.
It's tough, but it's not impossible, and anybody could get the job done. Muzz certainly a player that can live up to that standard. Paper, though, probably relatively unhappy with the fact it just seems as though he was just trying to collect a little bit more loot, maybe get some better early game weaponry to try and close out engagements faster, but again, just so many teams kind of lurking around Fencing Fields. Now it's going to be Acorn and Cold one more time. Bones Jones just headed straight to the graveyard at this point. Acorn might find the same fate, though, as Cold already lost in the process. Acorn's going to be forced to just fall back here. Could look, though, for the exchange. Trying to pull off the revive now onto Cold, and it doesn't seem as though anybody's going to be able to pressure him just yet, so should be a success, but look at Muzz toppling overhead now. This could be disastrous for Acorn and Cold.
What a big upgrade from Muzz there. He gets the card from Paper, then of course the materials, the ammunition, and boogies on out of there. That could have been terribly bad for Acorn and Cold if they would have lost a second chance at finding points here in this game. It just shows you the dangers of being highly contested like this at a drop spot, right? No one is safe, even if you're at the skill caliber likes of Acorn and Cold. So what a story, what a struggle for the Fencing Fields. Here at the Lavish Lair, much different story as Clicks and Epic Whale again have all but clear skies, because they're gonna have to rotate out to find a battle. Here's a team that's not waiting at all. Sid and Millie are in a head-to-head.
And this has been a repeat battle. 7 Mil and Dolzier. They want to take out Sid first and foremost. Duo having just split enough, but 7 Mil finds himself on the receiving end of Suss's shotgun. Fortunately, though, Dolzier will be able to close out that elimination onto Sid, and that's going to force Sus to look for a fallback routine, but Dolzier got a little bit ambitious there, and now Sus trying to see if he can actually turn this in his favor. And if Dolzier isn't careful, he might have these small shield potions to work with, but Sus's aim has definitely been pretty on point. But without shield to work through, winning this sort of 1 versus 2 engagement is just not really in the cards.
Yeah, that would have been a hard ask for anyone to go ahead and win that fight. There were 25 HP. But in the end, a valiant effort nonetheless. Peterbot and Boyo here. We have to see some life from them in the early game. And it seems like Baka and Pars are trying to squeeze what's left out of Peterbot and Boyo. This is by no means the type of duo that you want to be facing this early in the game. We've already seen Peterbot and Boyo obviously not quite performing up to their own expectations. However, are they warmed up now, or was the break a little too long between the games, as we haven't really seen them make it to an end game?
Well, if they want to make it to that end game, they are going to have to figure something out in terms of dealing with Baka and Pars. What was interesting, though, is across the way over at Restored Reels, it almost seemed as though a player was kind of poised on that beachfront. Could potentially have a line of sight into this engagement that's taking place between these two teams. And if so, it could be very problematic for both Baka Pars and Peterbot Pollo. Pars, though, definitely trying to make sure he doesn't stray too far from his teammate Baka. And what I like about this MDF is that we have been seeing Peterbot and Pollo play extraordinarily split. I mean, it's basically their bread and butter, and that might just be Peterbot's demise, because now Pars, Baka, just trying to bear down on his box, but Peterbot, he's not going to go down without a fight.
I was going to say, we're looking at two completely different types of duo engagements. Pollo and Peterbot doing what no one would recommend. Split up, play different angles against top tiers, sure. See how long that lasts you. But then you have Baka and Pars that wouldn't even for a moment decide to isolate away from their duo, playing hip-to-hip in exceptional fashion. What we would consider a more standard and more, tactical approach. But that is the difference in the capabilities of Pollo and Peterbot as individual players. And Baka and Pars have been playing together with one another for a long time, right? Since before the regions merged. So this is an incredible duo. And with the Underworld dashes in place, I mean, anything can happen. At any moment, a team can decide to zip right past your edit and into your box. So the risk has never been higher here.
Not to mention the fact that, again, that team
Zeus
over at Restored Reels, it might be Bacon and TK looking to introduce themselves to this engagement. Again, when you are fighting these stretched out battles, you're never truly alone, especially not inside of a set lobby. Pollo, Peterbot, they're going to be the first to bail, recognizing the fact that they can't hold on to their position while dealing with simultaneous pressure from a team that they can't even get near. But Pollo, he's just so split again from Peterbot. He was trying to kind of hold the line there, give Peterbot an opportunity to regen his shield, and he did manage to succeed in that front.
Look at the aggression, like it's
they
like,
want it so bad.
It's like saying, hey, yeah, no, we're gonna back off, but we're not gonna really back off. If you make one mistake, we're pushing you right away. And they're already back on the heels of this team here, instead of getting closer and closer to the edge where danger could also be lurking. So that was just high tier antics, if you will, from both sides. But Re and Ritual back in the mix here. This is a team that hasn't had a problem with Surge at all. And you can see why. They're actually finishing their eliminations in fair time and fashion. This should be an upgrade opportunity here for Ritual, whose loadout wasn't even the best before this engagement happened here. There it is, plenty to pick from.
Definitely a little bit unfortunate there for Cirque and Rafiki. Just migrating a little bit south towards Reckless Railways from their drop at Rescue Station. And with that in mind, though, Ritual and Re, they might definitely look to try and set up for a possible weapon bunker fight. If they want to go for those excess materials, they can. Keep in mind, though, that with those two eliminations, their Surge is bound to be looking rather healthy now in comparison to some of our other lobby competitors. But kind of touching back on what we just witnessed from Peterbot, Pollo, Baka, and Pars, both of those duos just expended so many of their materials. I think part of the reason why they split off in the first place, too, is because not only that Thunderbolt of Zeus pressure, but also just recognizing the fact that, like, hey, we don't have the mats to keep fighting each other even if we wanted to.
Yeah, I think if the Thunderbolts weren't coming in, they would have rode that game out to the lobby. Like, I think they were there and committed at that point for sure. Rise and Iamzo on the move right now. We've seen very, very clever play out of this duo. This is another team that is no strangers to being split up as they rotate for tags. Bolts and Bryce, much different conversation happening here. It's Shadow who's in a bit of a hold-up. Ooh, a bit of a bad edit there. It's gonna leave him exposed for a moment. That's what happens. Your team just exposes you. Shots coming from the side, and this is why communication is key.
And the concern for Bolts here isn't even match necessarily. It's more so shields. He can't really afford to continue eating shots from Zooks like he just was. Down to his final flopper. This is really all just going to hinge on how quickly Shadow and Zooks or Bryce and Bolts try and turn this in their favor. Zooks now, 2 exposed. Another wall edit that's just not going to be closed off in time, and Bolts trying to take advantage of this to an extent, but again, no shields. Bryce just gonna opt to play the medkit for right now, while Bolts continues to try and bear down onto Shadow and Zooks. After a certain point too, you know that neither of these teams wants to forfeit the rights to this weapon bunker either.
Yeah, I think we're just seeing a very fair and balanced engagement between two duos that are just, you know, well matched, right? Like both sides are making similar, if not the same mistakes with the late edits, the accidental exposing of one another. So it makes sense that this fight isn't steamrolled or quickly closing out, right? So there it is. Both teams are going to pretty much meet their match and decide, hey, let's play it for the zone. That's obviously what's more important. Edgy and Tavern, questionable. Oh. Yeah, I was going to say, what's happening here? They are going to have to just play for trade pickups right now. This is about as bad as it can get, actually. If Tavern didn't press that button in time, just barely. Yeah.
This is
sketchy.
This is a situation, that is for sure. If Edgy and Tavern manage to finagle their way out of this one, that would just be insane. This is such a far rotate that they have to make. And they're scavenging for any form, bandages, med kits. Edgy already recognizing the fact.
You gotta save me.
It's just not gonna happen.
Oh my gosh, he had to eat a heal just in time. Okay, so he's down to bandages. He does have bandages. You saw him use that bandage right before that happened because, yeah, otherwise it wouldn't have been all right.
But if you're playing for the wins, Monster, this to me reads more like Tavern and Edgy playing for placement as opposed to an outright victory royale. They want to just ensure that they do well enough that they can at least secure placement points to maintain that 6th through 25th threshold on the leaderboards. I can respect that. I understand it. It is going to be insane if they manage to bring this one back to life because their game is just looking awfully raps when you break it down in comparison to where some of our other lobby competitors are at. But at the same time, I can respect, you know, the mental fortitude to still keep trying to prevail in such a dire-looking situation.
Yeah, I mean, I love the setup when you said, you know, if they're playing for the win, my immediate thought was no. Like, no, that's not it. It's not looking good at all. Edgy is going to make it out the zone, though, so all hope is not lost just yet. The zone is close on their heels, though, so they can't stop. And, you know, third party of this team, even if they wanted to, they're using the river to get to safety as D-Roller and Crackley do have a little bit of the leisure to stick around and potentially fight this fight against Muzz. But it's got to be careful. There it is. The punishment comes in. The edits, though. How was that D-Roller's wall and Muzz was standing in that box? That was questionable all in all. And Muzz turns that entire situation around. Hades chain in hand as well. So all types of action unfolding here.
Wow. Muzz has just been popping off today. Yes. That is what I'm registering currently, okay? Because in the first place, the fact that Paper is even with him currently, Muzz able to reboot Paper in this map, then close out that box fight engagement, get some nice little siphon materials out of it as well, a little bit of ammunition, and that might have just been the break they needed to force their way into the zone, but they're not the only ones. Edgy Tavern still straggling through this one. And Peterbot.
Gosh.
It looked like that may have been a Huntress DMR with the 4 times potentially, given the damage that he received. Still gotta be wary though, knowing that there are players with that much high ground leverage over him.
Yeah, you saw that glint on the other side of the scope, so you know that was trouble all around. Tavern and Edgy, still no break. They just need a little bit of health. Scratch that. They need a lot of health and a lot of mats. They need a lot of everything right now. Smuds and papers underneath here. These floors are weak. They do have a lot of this territory covered. But yeah, no, everyone's more focused on making the rotate here. Bomb that might jump in that box, and I likely recycle the rotate here shortly. We'll see what the decision ends up being. Peterbot and Pollo hasn't moved either, so they're looking to see if they can pick up their eliminations.
That might just be a prime situation, though, for Peterbot and Pollo, because they were by far the most healthy and best itemized team out of the 3 present at that train station. Here far north, though, over by Classic Courts, just to the east of it, Reet and Ritual found themselves tied up currently with Paco and Mixon. Reet just trying to attack the floor underneath Paco and Mixon, but he will fall back to his duo. Doesn't want to stay too far split apart. Could potentially be looking for the chop, though, but no, instead it's going to be Reet and Ritual. They just want to maintain staying ahead of this rotation. They know that eventually Paco and Mixon are going to have to come their way instead.
Yeah, definitely can appreciate a good disengage. This looks like one of those ones where, hey, you just wait for the zone with the storm, start to assist you here. That's that unofficial third person in this engagement right here, and there you can see the damage starting to add up, regardless of whether or not Reet is able to find the tags there. So Bucket Mixer are going to start to rotate in and should start to carry on. Meanwhile, Cold finds elimination onto Clicks there in the feed as well. So there is a lot going on here in the Fortnite world. As we're kind of zoomed in on this battle, let's look at that Acorn and Cold engagement right here. 3 eliminations for Cold now. This is the complete opposite side of the world. We couldn't have jumped any further. As you can see, the Backtalk and Feline have continued to be the pest in the thorn in the side here of Acorn and Cold, but they shut this team down, and there's another one there already looking to fend off the shots. It is, of course, Epic Whale, who was trying to fend for his teammate, and I'm assuming he's gotten Clix' card, right? I think he might have gotten everything he needs to at least play for the potential save here.
But if he wants to go for that, he needs to get it sooner rather than later. Fish straight onto the launch pad, and that's going to take him far enough from this current fight. But checking back in with Muzz, Paper down one more time. Muzz just trying to keep these moving forward, and Tavern will be on the other side of Muzz's barrel there. Nice elimination, but again, Peterbot, Pollo, their positioning just all the better. Poor Muzz forced to sit this one out and wait for the next lobby. As Epic, same mentality. He's just playing for himself at this point. He's going for the placement strategy. Bit shambles as far as the loot is concerned, but at least one small shield potion to buy him a little bit more time. Bandage online as well, so I'll at least have that 75 white HP to work with. But his last little bit of Flowberry Fizz here, MDF, and he's just hoping, praying that Cam and Aminish don't decide to check upstairs, and they're not the only ones. Yuumi, Vert now, jumping straight into the fray. Epic tried to go from behind, but he didn't finalize the shots. Yuumi and Vert just so quick with those wall edits, and Epic forced to just lay waste to the storm.
Yeah, I liked the decision to dip back into the storm because he had the 9 bandages. I wasn't a huge fan trying to key in on the team after the wall and the splash came down, but it is what it is. These types of things are going to happen. Mixon and Paco, though, continue to stick to their guns, stick to the north side here, and it puts them at a high ground position right now, and they're looking to back way on off here for a second, and there's that no drop rate, hit scan, mythic waterbend in full effect here. This is, I would say, where it shines best, right? If you don't have a DMR or something, just play long range, play you're trying to rotate.
And that's all that Mixon's doing, just constantly berating. We saw Reed and Ritual. It seems as though Mixon and Paco have not forgotten about the fact that Reed and Ritual are holding them for a little bit, and now they're just making sure to return the favor. Yeah, this is a perfect rotation into the next zone. If nobody spots them out, keep in mind there is a team already relatively center of this next zone. But 7 mil Dozier.
What? This is
just going straight down.
crazy. This is crazy. He's gonna land right onto Dozier, and they actually end up boxing him out and then cutting off the teammate there. That could have been all bad for Dozier, but his teammate responded fast enough and backed him up there. What a gutsy play from Mixon and Paco, but you have to respect it. I mean, they were just going toe-to-toe with Re and Ritual moments ago. They were doing just fine, so now that they're the first to the punch here to get the high ground spot, I mean, they couldn't be in a better position to have decisions to make later in the game, actually have options.
But one thing they definitely need, though, is some materials. Paco and Mixon only boasting about 22 builds apiece. Definitely not ideal considering how nice their actual positioning is, but they might be able to make it work in their favor, especially depending on how the zone chooses to pull. But instead, a little bit further south from where they were situated, so they'll definitely have their work cut out for them, working their way down that mountain face. Blake and Macwood as well. Another team just barely managing to cling above that surge damage threshold. The knock onto Chubbs, now transitioning into a full elimination. But Blake and Macwood, they're not content. They definitely want to see if they can isolate any of these other teams, spot out maybe a solo that's trying to play more towards the backside of zones, going in with the later rotates.
Look at this, Kanata and Cooper once again setting themselves up for what could be a high ground spot, but they don't really have the mats to do much with it. But the damage might just be done to the rest of the lobby that has to work their way up this funnel, this low ground, this steep mountain. If they just continue to hold these angles and pressure down on players, I mean, it's going to be rough for everyone. It's going to cost a lot of these teams all of their material. Look at this angle that Blake and Mac would have on Sabak and Pars. I mean, if the zone just goes a different way, that's it, right? It could be wraps, and they're going to make a move to inch closer towards this team. I wonder if they think they sense some vulnerability down here. Little do they know, Bak and Pars are likely fully equipped.
Not only that, but it is a risky call right now from Blake and Macwood because they are banking everything on that side of the mountain face, hoping that the zones just continue to pull in their favor. Paco and Mixon, though, yeah, no mats is right, and there is a couple of teams sort of hovering towards that secondary height. Paco,
he almost missed the jump.
I was waiting for it, but for a second there, that would have been a little questionable, but he did manage to connect. Reunited one more time with Mixon. And that waterbending mythic, I think, might be their best friend currently. The ultimate way to try and shut down some of these teams that are looking to either chop them out or pressure height from the mid-ground layers in general.
Cold and Acorn, completely different story in play right here. All the way to low ground, they shoot out Paco and Mixon, but we do know they have the fizz effect, so they will be able to land safely. And then right into repositioning themselves here. And this might be a best case scenario for them. They need this fight right here as they don't have mats, so you couldn't ask for a better spot to be in than over top of a player pressuring down low. But no, Paco bails on Mixon, and it just seems like the decision making was a little bit off there. They should have stood together. You see what happens when the pressure starts to turn around here. So for Cold and Acorn, the sky opens up, things start to brighten up for them, and this should be their game now to run away with here.
They've got ample materials. They've also got Paco kind of bodyguarding his way through the low ground. Does have a med kit. Just get him a few more placement points, but Kanata and Cooper, another relatively strong duo still left standing, but what they don't have currently, MDF, is build, at least not on Kanata's side. So they're gonna try and tarp through, staying more towards front side low. But again, Baka, Pars, could play spoiler here to Kanata and Cooper. All it takes is one good shot, one wrong turn, and that could spell the end here when you don't have many builds to work with. In comparison to Acorn and Cole, just warlords of the high ground currently.
Look at this, Kanata getting all the chance in the world to bounce back some material count there. Very nice find there. Pars and Baka punished from Bolts up top, and it's just brutal on all sides as Bolts is the one who comes out on top and gets the full elimination. Pars is weak as well, and Bolts with the 2v1. on his old friends of Baka and Pars there. Well played for him. This is going to secure him a top 5 now. He is sliding his way in, and then punishment onto Cooper as well, where we thought Cooper could not have had this in the books on lock. No, Bolts throws his decision in the mix there too, and just like that, a 2v1 here should set up Acorn and Cold for the win now.
Acorn and Cold are just waiting it out. There's really no rush from where they're standing. Cold's gonna go ahead and drop down anyway. Put some pressure onto Bolts' walls. Bolts, though, still scurrying around, seeing if he can maybe find a straight shot. He does have that Mythic Gatekeeper to work with. Acorn and Cold actually switching things around, but Bolts, down to his last little bit of HP, does manage to connect a single shot onto Cold, but it's just not enough when you're dealing with both Cold and Acorn.
You know what? You got to take your hats off for Bolts fighting all the way through to the end, not willing to just roll over and let the job be finished there. No, he wants to go ahead and fight back for his. Acorn and Cold are going straight to finals now as they have secured game number 3. And take a look at the highlights, the high ground. It was masterfully done right here. Full health, full material counts, just everything you can ask for. In the end, not ideal to let another player take the high ground from you, but a 10 elimination victory royale is still a huge W, Taco.
And look, I don't want to take the limelight away from Acorn and Cold by any means, but can we talk about the fact that Kanata and Cooper, this is like their 3rd lobby now of finding themselves in that top 5. They are just so close, on the cusp of finding these victory royales for the grand finals, but maybe Zeke, Vivid, and Kelly have some more information on that.
We have no information. Sorry, guys. Well, great show. See you guys later tomorrow. Okay, just kidding. Congratulations, Acorn and Cold, of course, your Major 1 champions. They've got themselves their spot in the grand finals of Major number 2. They're like, hey, you know what? We don't got to play anymore. That's all for us. We'll see you guys in grand finals. Good luck, everybody else. Good luck practicing. Good luck defending against Peter Pan and Pollo. We're out.
Hey, Acorn and Cold, is anybody surprised that they're going to be in the grand finals? Our Major 1 champions doing it in great fashion. I mean, Kelly, the high ground awareness, looking up as the zone pulled off of the top of the mountain. Genius.
Yeah, I think we knew that a lot of these victory royales were going to be coming from high ground, although I guess technically at the very last moments there, it was Bolts that grabbed the high ground, so shout outs to him, but Cold and Acorn were just so confident, and that's exactly what you expect out of the Major 1 champions. But I think what a lot of people didn't expect from Acorn and Cold is their performances through the open qualifiers, and it's very likely that because they've already qualified for the global championship in October, that they don't want to expose any strategies. Maybe they're even just playing a little bit more passively, although that doesn't seem to be the case for game 3 there. It's good to see Acorn and Cold back on top.
That's right. That is right. Of course, congratulations once again to Acorn and Cold. And I love that you kind of call that out, Kelly. The fact they already have their spots at globals, obviously they'd love to kind of defend their title and hold the axe of champions for yet another major. But yeah, I mean, these guys are already good to go, so they're probably feeling really comfortable. They're just like, I guess you're still excited, right? To be like, yeah, grand finals. But you're like, I'm going to globals later. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, though, a great performance from them. 7 eliminations on Cold, 3 on Acorn. You know, Man City Esports, who of course Cold is signed to, put out this nice little content piece where they were talking about rating, sort of similar to how sports cars work. And I saw Cold rated himself a 94 overall, but it was a 99 in fragging, right? So has a lot of respect for himself and a lot of confidence in that category. So no surprise to see 7 eliminations on the 99 rated fragger.
Although a little bit of a surprise for the second duo out of Fencing Fields to come out on top there. And so I know that we still have 2 more duos landing Fencing Fields, and we've been talking about our team's going to move to Mount Olympus. Is Grim Gate going to be contested? I wonder if more duos are now going to be moving to Fencing Fields after this.
Yes, Kelly. Yes, more chaos, more fights. That's Kelly. We're here. We're right here. Let's take a look at our standings to see how things are kind of going. If you're just tuning in, hey, welcome. We hope that you had an awesome day. Let's watch some Fortnite together. And, so what you've missed up until this point, Acorn and Cold, they got themselves the Victory Royale. Aegis and Bugha came before them, and then in game 1, Krizix and Yasir walked away with the win, which means they're going straight to grand finals. They're good to go. Now it's all about next weekend. For everyone else, we're looking to get a victory royale or to end the day in the top 25. Kanata, Cooper still holding down that #1 spot. These guys are so crazy consistent right now.
Yeah, you think so, Zeke? I mean, like Taco kind of mentioned it at the end, making it to every single end game and just seemingly in a good position every single time as well. Really good to see them, perform on this level. And the thing that I kind of wanted to point out earlier on in this major, right through some of those qualifying weeks, is I feel like Kanata and Cooper are one of the best teams at kind of recognizing when they actually need to use Fullberry Fizz and when they should not. So shout out to Kanata and Cooper for putting in the time and effort and seemingly making some of those end game rotations seem so easy. It's clearly working.
And they definitely have done such a good job of holding high ground or holding second high and then realizing when they're in a bad position and dropping down to either extreme low or second low. So I really do love the awareness that's coming out of Kanata and Cooper, and I think that's part of the reason why they're able to survive so long. But they don't want to just survive, Zeke. They want to get that victory royale.
Dude, that's all I want in my life, is just to get a single victory out of my
Just one.
Sorry, yeah. Anyway, 18th place, Blake and Macwood jumping up 18 spots to suddenly find themselves here in that top 25. It just goes to show you, right? One super awesome game can really kind of turn around your semifinals run. Now, of course, would they love the victory out? Sure, but still trying to stay in that upper bracket, stay in the top 25. This is a good spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, and shout out to Blake, because Blake has been catching some respect this season, some kudo points for how well Blake was actually performing in some custom zone war lobbies, and everybody kind of putting some respect on his name as it compares to his mechanics and his ability to clutch earlier on throughout the year as well. So hey, listen, I'm looking towards Blake and Macwood to pick up a victory royale over the next couple of games.
Yeah, I feel like this major is kind of the major of OGs and also these content kings, these people that we thought were kind of done with their professional run, but coming back strong right now. Hopefully we can see him do just a tiny little bit better, because although he is still in the top 25 with 1 or 2 more games to go, a lot can be changing. And these duos, if they're not going to get the victory royale, they need to be in the top 25 because they don't want to go to the lower bracket.
Yeah, it gets a lot crazier, a lot scarier in that lower bracket for sure. Not only is it harder to stay in that kind of upper echelon of players, but you also have way more games to try and play through to be that consistent. But I know what you want. It's more games. Game 4 is upon us. Let's kick it on over to our casters. It's MDF and the best Taco.
That's right. Thank you, Zeke. Yes, the pressure is on now as we're starting to run through our games here. Time is limited. These rounds are even more refined now as there's only 2 more in front of us here.
Yeah, and with only 2 games left to close out day #1 of the upper bracket, again, it is important to keep in mind that placement points could also become a big priority for some of our teams that might be hovering just outside that 6th through 25th placement on the leaderboards, MDF, because they want to ensure that they stay competing in upper bracket here for day 2. There's just so much more opportunity to be able to qual to grand finals this way.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier, though. At the end of the day, like you just mentioned, you have to stay consistent and hopefully, of course, play for the victory royale. So even if the win is not quite there for you, that's why you see even players like Bolts willing to fight all the way through tooth and nail to the end, because eliminations do matter. So let's see as game number 4 is ready. All right, Taco, here we have it. We already know Frenzy Fields is on fire, as we've seen a number of different teams start to jump in and throw their hats in the ring, if you will. There hasn't been a same outcome, right? Every game has been so very different here at the Fencing Fields. As first, though, we get to see Phelan and Backtalk against Crackly and Derola here. Crackly and Derola have had, I'd say, quite the performance so far.
Definitely been relatively consistent throughout the course of the 3 lobbies that have taken place so far, but here in game number 4, they want to make sure that they just do 1 step above the rest. Everybody's still searching for their first victory royale here in game number 4. Spaco and Mixon, their run could get cut short here if they're not careful against the likes of Max and Smiley, but Mixin, thankfully, will secure a shield potion. That's gonna definitely put Mixin and Paco in a much more favorable spot. But it does cost Mixin all of his chug splashes. So now, Max, Smiley, still somewhat on the hunt here. You can tell they really want to clear out Paco and Mixin because it would just ensure that their loot path is all the smoother, but they haven't really had an opportunity to get their Max online in general. Max trying to build up, but he's making sure to stick close to his duo. Smiley doesn't want to split that far and find himself in a precarious position. But if they continue to hesitate, that could be the prime opportunity, the opening, essentially, that Mixin and Paco need to just reestablish their footing. And sure enough, Max and Smiley, they're gonna actually break off altogether. Just opt to fall back to the shores and see if maybe they could try and reaggress later on after getting a little bit more materials and loot.
Yeah, there's definitely an option there, but I think Max and Company are going to be happy with getting a couple tags there and backing off, as they haven't been the winners of the drop game after game. So sometimes you just want to get your feet down on the ground and actually play one out. That's, I'm assuming, what Back and Feline would like to do here, but D-Roller and Crackley have just been the stronger duo overall. A little bit more consistent here. They have the high ground. The structure's trying to get broken up from underneath them, so they have to come down. D-Roller misses the important tag, and they lose their advantage. And Crackley makes a mistake, but D-Roller claps back here and puts his team in the conversation. Back against the wall, though, unfortunately, doesn't give him enough room to work with there. And just like that, Feline and Company end up winning the exchange.
Is it really a win, though? That, but the Thunderbolt of Zeus is going to make them contemplate. Blake also was attempting to try and keep himself and Macwood in the conversation here for game number 4, but Golden making sure to shut that one down. Golden's got to be quick about it, though, here at Grand Glacier. Sure, he might be the lone survivor currently, but if he doesn't get this reboot off onto Ozone ASAP, he's going to have to worry about those teams that could be making their way over, especially coming out of Summit Base Camp, Summit Temple again. You got Bravo, Percent, Curve, and Tyler, 2 duos, where if they hear the sound of that reboot van going off, Monster, you have to imagine that they're going to want to immediately pounce upon that opportunity to take full advantage of a team that's clearly struggling a little bit in the early game.
Yeah, we've seen Glacier be contested a few times by late third parties, but let's jump in with the conversation here at the Classy Courts. It does seem like it's about 3 teams in the conversation here. Damage already being done to the late rotator coming in. Teams on the outskirts. There's a lot happening. Backing over to Paco and Mixin. So from the drop, they get their materials, they get their HP, and they push through a team. This is a completely different elimination pickup there. That's onto Veer and his duo. Very nicely done for them.
It's kind of crazy, too, considering that Freeze and Veer, they're initially contested over at Brawler's Battleground by Threats and Sphinx. So for them to rotate this far west to clash up against Paco and Mixin at Lovely Lodge, it's almost seemed like Paco and Mixin, they've just been fighting every step of the way so far. And it doesn't seem as though that aggression is going to fall off anytime soon, so they definitely got to keep their wits about them. But it seems as though they're handing out responses that these other teams in NA might not have necessarily been anticipating. Poor Muzz, man.
Yeah, not looking good for Muzz, but just on the topic of Paco Mixin, you know, last game, we found them in the water, right? Doing this, like, crazy dead side rotate, and then they made endgame, and they played, I think, pretty well. That could have been a confidence boost, because this game is much different. Like, we're seeing a more aggressive Paco Mixin, but look at Muzz, man, putting up the numbers as a solo right now. In the fit, let's see it. He's taking walls and pushing players back. I mean, that's all the respect you can earn as a solo right there. And that duo, I think, is recognizing, yep, this is who we think it is. It's Muzz.
Muzz might even opt to go for the immediate reboot ban there at Fencing Fields. Don't want to call it a reckless strategy by any means. He's definitely got the mechs to push back a full duo as a solo, but at the same time, he's got to be wary. It is pretty cool though to mention, Fencing Fields, the only POI so far today here in NA that's had repeat Victory Royale winners coming out of it. First, Krizix and Yasir, and then Acorn and Fold. And Muzz, just let him get the reboot off, guys.
Cleaning up house. 2 eliminations now. Get a load of that. You blinked and you missed it, basically. It's over. And we knew it. That team didn't have shield. They were, you know, pushing in and just doing all the wrong things. Muzz is just sharper, faster, cleaner. He gets to watch that back when he gets this reboot here. Take a look. King Expo comes in. Finds him, box him up. Oh my gosh. And just like that, it's over. What a play for the young Muzz.
Oh, come on, man. Pars and Baka just had to ruin the fun, man. Oh,
I'm out of here.
This is tough, man. You hate to see it. Muzz, you did your best. There's really nothing else that Paper could have possibly asked you for in that situation. Pars and Baka just the right place at the right time. So unfortunately, Muzz not going to be able to stay standing. He's still him though for that initial 2 versus 1 scenario.
You know, you could always, you know, the wonderful thing about editing is you could just always end the clip right when we celebrated how great you were and leave out the Baka and Pars steamroll at the very end. Jumping over Rise and Yamza right now. Things are looking pretty solid for this team, but I do wonder, where's their surge?
Rise probably has the same question, MDF, but keep in mind, Surge a little bit easier to come by when you know every single rotation that you want to make throughout the duration of a match. We've seen Rise and Yamzo kind of playing very consistently for Forecast Tower, given that they're split, again, one more time to mention, between Pantheon Path and Little Villa, there is a Forecast Tower readily available for them just outside of that hazy hillside tunnel, but that's only if it actually spawns, right? So this game could look a little bit different for Rise and Yamzo, but we've seen them pretty consistently in the late game, and it's not like they've been down bad or anything like that as far as their loadouts are concerned. I think it's more so just trying to play through the haphazardness that continues to take place with the way that some of these zone pulls have been occurring.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it can go either way. We've seen the pendulum swing. Take a look at Paco Mixon. They got a long ways to go to get to the safety. Meanwhile, King Ree and Ritual here playing the bunker, holding it down, keeping it well protected. This means that several other bunkers, of course, across the Fortnite world have now revealed themselves, and we just get a moment to really absorb the loot that they get to pick up from the bunker. It is just so much, right? And it's really, really telling.
It's definitely everything you could ask for and then some, and Ree and Ritual were able to establish so much space surrounding this bunker. They're not really all that concerned about somebody trying to sneak attack them. They're more prioritizing just getting those weapons with the optimal modifications that they would like to operate with throughout the course of this 4th lobby, and same intentions here for Clix and Epic, but this is a little bit of a different sight than what we're used to seeing, because typically it's been Clix and Epic having to kind of duke things out to get claims for the weapon bunker. They do have a couple of weapon bunker options that could potentially spawn from their drop or nearby their drop at Lavish Lair, but we have been seeing Epic and Clix be able to confirm Surge off of those weapon bunker fights, so seeing them lay claims to that one completely uncontested by the looks of things could be problematic for their Surge strategy in the long term in this lobby. But maybe, again, having hit up that weapon mod bench, they might have been able to get some scopes put on those weapons that could help them with maintaining their accuracy onto other players.
Look at this, Peter Bottom for you. single out Edgy here, and they're going to look to take that fight. Meanwhile, Reet and Ritual from the bunker to the safety of the new zone. A fight breaks out here, and they find Trashy on the run here. Already have an elim, so that's unfortunate for Reet there. Get that chunky shot in response to Trashy's defense there. Well played for him. It's going to buy him some time and really force Reet to dig into these prestigious heals. This is all of a sudden not going the way that they anticipated or expected, for that matter.
It's kind of crazy, though, to think that Ritual and Reet just getting cut off, basically, by Cirque and Rafiki. A little bit of attraction having been pulled towards from that rescue station, and now just a little bit south of Classy Courts, Reet and Ritual. They had some benefits coming, obviously, out of that weapon bunker, but very obvious that they were not anticipating a team like Cirque and Rafiki to kind of just be lurking about, trying to cut them off in their rotation path, essentially.
Bacon and TK here as well, looking to fight pretty much outside the rift here. I wonder if they want to play for the top of the rift. It look like they're in desperate need. But the positioning, nonetheless, will be key, as this does seem to be landing right dab smack in the middle of this zone right here. So it's a great spot to secure, nonetheless. Besides the upgrades that'll yield out, it's Ozone and Golden Ball who have first dibs, though. They get to zip line first. Those are all big missed tags there, right? With that water mythical, this should have been pretty easy for them to connect, but things happen.
Maybe Ozone will be able to generate some new opportunities with this waterbending mythic. For right now, though, just looking to build around the capture point here on Rift Island. Golden and Ozone could both definitely use some of the resources provided by that capture point, but there is a lot of company here at Rift Island now. One less member to deal with, though. B-Dog going to be eliminated by Bacon, and TK getting a chance to try and bring his shields back to full, his white heals back to full as well. Bacon definitely has ample amount of heals for his teammate, but as you can see, TK already with the med kit. Not really too concerned just yet. But Bacon and TK doesn't seem as though they're going to try and collapse immediately onto Golden and Ozone for that capture point. They gotta be careful, though. Keep in mind, they will be marked men as soon as that capture point goes off for Golden and Ozone, which I think they were just seconds away from.
Yep, that is what's gonna happen here. Bryson Bolt's on the other side. Just making a rotate here. Trying to get a move on it. A bit far apart from one another, though, and in between multiple duos. There it is. See the Flowberry Fizz starting to play its effect here. You have Zeus on the rotate here as a duo as well. I like what they're doing here for Bryson Bolts here, playing far and away inside the storm, or into the safety, towards this major POI here. This is definitely a more prime spot to be in. Meanwhile, Kanata and Cooper back at these incredibly designed bases, huge structures here to give them full visibility on the outskirts, the surrounding areas.
Bryson Bolts being another one of our potential forecast teams, given that their drop split between Dumpenhausen and Zenith Wall. But it's not easy to come by. I mean, we mentioned forecast towers all day long. It really doesn't matter if you know every zone if you're not able to capitalize off of your rotations and actually encountering other players to try and establish surge. You ask any Fortnite pro out there, 99% of the time they're going to tell you they would rather have, you know, cap surge over everything else. Because when it comes to set lobby, it's by far and away the most difficult thing to come by is clicks. Trying to get some surge going for himself and Epic. But some missed sniper shots onto Braids.
Ooh, there it is.
There it is.
It's a great tag there, great body tag, 121. Really open things up for them, set themselves up, put them a whole step ahead. The damage required in these types of lobbies here. But the zone's more pressing, and the longer they stick around, the fight this team, the more issues they might have later on. And this is a hard decision to make here, where you see your surge, they know they're 258, and they're like, oh, but we have a team here. No one's around. What do? Right? Do you stick around and you try to, you know, cheek out a couple tags here, or do you get straight to the zone first? And it seems like they want to stick around and find out instead.
Zone's got to be priority, especially with another team kind of encroaching upon your position. Batman Booga and Rapid just sending some zoning shots, as I like to call them. Didn't manage to clip any of Clix's shield immediately, but Reet and Ritual find themselves in a very similar position. Those teams kind of hanging around now on the Rift Island. In fact, Reet, recognizing the fact he just gets lit up from two separate directions. Have to expect that it's two very different teams that he's got to deal with now. Some very valuable resources gonna be forcibly removed from their loadouts.
By the way,
look
at the field. Look at the feed. Epic Whale Clicks just caught Cooper and Kanata. We know Cooper and Kanata had a crazy base going here. I wonder if Clicks actually connected with that sniper shot. Something must have unfolded there. Things have gone terribly bad, and maybe we curse Kanata and Cooper because we did just fly the stat showing that they've been the only duo to make top 10. Well, scratch that here and now. Take a look at how it goes down. It's the sniper tag from Clicks. It's good.
That is so tough, man, because it's not like Kanata was there for that long. It was just a couple of seconds, but that's all it takes for Clicks sometimes to register the headshots. And tragic scenario there for Cooper and Kanata. Have to expect that Cooper just got immediately keyed basically after Clicks turns him into a solo. But this next rotate could be everything here now for Clicks and Epic. Another one of our teams that are definitely searching for a victory royale. They want that immediate shot straight to grand finals.
Take a look at Reet and Ritual. Talk about sticking around and finding out. They've continued to play a little bit slow now. And you see it's starting to add up here. Not only is it taken away from what heals they had left, but also the fact that they're flying pretty low on the Surge standings there. A couple players, notable players still alive here. Peterbot and Boyo just nearby. They're not going to let Reet fly by for free. There goes the shots coming in from all of the lobby here. Everyone recognizing that there's a new team landing right in the dead center of this new zone. It's a good spot for Reet and Ritual to be in now, but can they get a couple tags here to get comfortable?
Can they even hold this spot is the other question as well, because there's a lot of teams that would love to be where Reet and Ritual are currently at. So I like this from Reet, Ritual, both just looking to attack from separate angles. Snacky, Sanito, caught up in so much action here, but it's gonna be Mixon who'll find himself on the receiving end of Snacky and his aggression, but a nice elimination. It's gonna clear out a little bit of space, buy them some time to figure out where their next rotate is actually going to be at.
See it. This has been the slowest we've seen Peterbot and Boyo move in any setting in what feels like the last 2 seasons. I kid you not. It's been pretty tough semifinals for them so far, but luckily it's a whole weekend in front of them. And it only takes one game here to put you right back into that top 25. But this is game 4, and after this, it's game 5, and we'll call day 1 wraps. If you don't pick up a victory royale, you have to continue to play throughout the weekend here. Only wins will send you to the finals right now, this early in the semifinals.
It's definitely crunch time for every single one of these teams, because again, if you don't get that victory royale, at the very least, you want to ensure that you are still maintaining that 6th through 25th spot on leaderboards, because remember, there's rolling lobbies taking place here today as well in our semis lower bracket. 10 games that those players are cycling through, and the top 30 are going to actually be profiting because they'll be moving into upper bracket day 2. So it's really just going to depend on how well some of our current competitors are going to be able to maintain their spots on the leaderboard if they can't find that victory royale outright. And that's a lot of pressure when you really break it all down.
Yeah, definitely. Pressure is on right now for everyone here. As these are the last chances here for day 1. You want to get it out the way. Re and Ritual right now. Single Elim. We saw they were having a, like we said, a bit of a harder time with Surge as they were making their way into the Storm. So they recognize that they have to get busy. And you can see the Surge upgrades right there. 7 to 15, and then they're just on that line. So tags are going to start exchanging. The numbers are going to start jumping up. And if you don't keep up with the pace, you are going to fall behind.
Reed and Ritual definitely trying to get fraggy right now onto Cirque and Rafiki, but they'll abandon ship for the time being. They got to stay ahead. They got to stay with the zone. Edgy Tavern, all the while. Chains of
what is going on?
Which direction? Paco operating as a solo. Keep in mind, he lost Mixon relatively early on in this one. So now, Paco, Mixon, they're going to have to bank it all on our final lobby of the day to see whether or not they stay either inside that 6th through 25th or can find that Victory Royale and that immediate entrance to Grand Finals. But Peterbot and Pollo, I mean, again, you talked about this is the slowest we've seen. This is also one of the best positions we've seen them in so far today. Kind of just trading that Serve Medallion between each other. Peterbot making sure that he's going to have his Underworld dash charges readily available for when they make their next move. But that Surge threshold dropping ever lower there for Peterbot and Pollo. They still didn't have eliminations. They're pretty much operating exclusively on what tags are able to collect from everybody below. Clicks connecting. Big shots here for himself and Epic. Back up above the damage threshold, but still not enough to get comfortable just yet.
Yeah, that sniper is definitely the decision maker, the deciding factor for them. And I am curious of whether or not Peterbot and Pollo have just decided, hey, you know what? Let's just win. Let's just play for a win, right? Taking things a lot slower right now instead of jumping into the box and doing what they've done up until now. Snack is going to go ahead and fall there with his duo. Down he goes, and talking about a team that was playing slow and steady. All of a sudden now they are once again forced to dig into the heels a little prematurely here. But this is endgame now. This is where they do shine best, and we haven't really seen them try to shine from the low ground in a game, let alone a calibered lobby like this. They have been the team that has aggressively fought for high ground and made it their business to do what they will with the lobby. But semi-finals is really showing us, these set lobbies are showing us that it's not going to be easy. And as I say that, Peterbot and Pollo time the high ground taken. Look at that. Here comes Clicks and Epic Whale, who have also been fighting for high ground. This might be a best case scenario for Peterbot and Pollo, that Clicks and Epic Whale meet the team that was coming down off of the height that they just took it from, which was Bacon and TK there.
Bacon and TK, just impossible to prevent players with those Underworld dashes from challenging for height. Clicks, though, from way back, tries to take his odds in that secondary height layer. But now he's scrambling on the low ground. Peterbot, too, forced to drop from above. It's going to be a banana expended. But can Peterbot find an opportunity to get that shield potion online? That's the next question. Rise, gonna be the shutdown necessary. Pollo forced to fall back, forced to just try and rock it out in these pre-existing builds underneath that ultimate high ground. A nice elimination onto Ozone's gonna give him some siphon mats, but at the same time, Pollo, he is just left running every which direction. And he just encountered another duo. They can't afford to take that damage.
Yeah, and it's not looking good at all. They just didn't earn a lot of points, so this is going to be a tough game. Believe it or not, I can't believe I'm saying this, for Peterbot and Pollo to remain inside the top 25 at this pace here. Epic Whale, you can see the damage that fighting for high ground has done to him. He is down to 3 green health and just a little bit of shield to work with into the box, but not enough to get the finish there. Rise defends well. Yamzo comes down to try to support his duo mate. And there's not a win condition in hand here other than close this out from the high ground. Bryson Bolt on the low ground here do have a med kit to play for, but it might be a little too late.
It's got to be Bolt that goes for the disruptor factor. Braids, though, eliminated. Bryce still trying to work his way through. Bolt, last man left standing here, just about.
Back to back.
Yamzo and Rise are doing everything they can. And that's really all she wrote, as Rise and Yamzo finally find their victory royale. We've seen them searching for it throughout our lobbies here today, MDF. And hey, better late than never.
Yamzo and Rise absolutely deserve that win. It couldn't have went better for them. Clicks and Epic Whale fighting for high ground gave them the chance to snag it themselves. But you know what? It's Bolts who's the standout performer for me right now. Back-to-back second places now, showing that he is here to hang with the Wolves. Let's take a look at from Yamzo's perspective here. He was really turning online, and look, you could have never guessed that he was in the storm there. So just completely catching Peterbot and Poyo offline, really messing up what they had in store. And just like that, they win game number 4. That leaves us with just one more left to play for. Congratulations to Rise and Yamzo there, Taco.
Of course, and Yamzo of all people, I think. I can't say that I'm surprised to see him being one of the members to shut down Peterbot. He was not going to allow that height overlord to come into play. So just an excellent job all around from Yamzo and Rise. But Zeke, Vivid, Kelly, what did you guys see throughout that one?
Yamzo and Rise, I feel like a duo we have not talked a lot about recently. There's kind of like this ebb and flow with Yamzo and Rise. The thing is, though, is they're always good. But the thing is, they're so good at like staying in the shadows and like quietly manipulating certain lobbies and taking certain fights and like dethroning certain people. But now they step into the limelight, right? They say, hey, look, we're going for this title. There's another global championship on the line. We got to make it there. And after this Victory Royale, they are poised to do that in grand finals.
You know, 11th put on a little bit of a show called Hotline, and basically, you know, we had a guest join, and they posed the question. They were like, I think Yamzo and Rise should land Grim Gate and be the saviors of NA Central this season and take down Peterbot and Poyo. And I rebutted, and I was like, well, no, Yamzo and Rise, they like to formulate their strategies in the early game. They like to just have these split jobs that are uncontested and just play strategically throughout the game. Maybe they had the duo correct, but the strategy incorrect. Maybe it's all about Yamzo and Rise going for a high ground and taking it from Peterbot and Poyo. Kelly, we do not see that. We do not see teams take high ground for Peterbot and Poyo, but Yamzo and Rise just did it to win a game and qualify for finals.
It was a bit surprising. In between these games, I've been telling these guys that, listen, if Peterbot and Poyo go down, like if they make it past 30th place, then they're going to win the whole thing. And it definitely looked like they were primed and ready to go for this. And the fact that they just went down, and they went down by Yamzo and Rise, who are an incredible duo. They got top 10 last major, so I don't think it's too much of a surprise to see them grab a victory royale right here. But the surprise is, what happened to Peterbot and Poyo? Is this just an issue of tournament jitters? Is there really some kind of counter strategy that a lot of these pros have been working against them because they're these Goliaths in NA Central? So Peterbot and Poyo haven't had the best day, and we keep saying these duos want to make it into the top 25. I don't know if Peterbot and Poyo are poised, even with a good game 5, to make it into the top 25. They have to go for the VR in game 5.
Yeah, we have entered scary territory, in my opinion, for Peterbot and Poyo. Listen, there were a lot of questions as to how they were going to play today, whether they were just going to go for more of those elimination games. And as you can see right here, 0 eliminations across the board in the moving zones, which means that no, that wasn't necessarily the play style they were going for this game. They were really trying to win this game, I would imagine. But now, yeah, like you mentioned, Kelly, a rough day indeed. They currently sit in 30th place outside of top 25 with only 1 game left to go. Big question mark on whether or not we will see this team, 1, win a game today, or 2, see them again in the upper bracket tomorrow.
Obviously, this duo cannot do what we've seen in the qualifiers, right? They cannot just go crazy mode, go sicko mode, jump out of boxes, 20 elim games. That's not what this is, right? Semifinals is very different. And I think for them, they're kind of still in that mindset, right? We can just kind of go in with open quals, you know. We just go crazy. There's an unending number of people we can just continue to siphon off of, get impacts off of. But semifinals, everyone is well aware. Hey, Peterbot, Poyo, they're in this lobby. You have to be very mindful of not only them, but every other superstar looking to go straight through to grand finals. Let's take a look at our standings. I want to see how things are going. Top 25 is looking where, or as we're hoping to stay in the upper bracket, or a Victory Royale auto qualifies us to grand finals. Finally, Kanata, Cooper dethroned in that #1 spot. They've held it for 4 games, but now Bryce, Bolt, they are looking to strike back.
Hold up, Bryce and Bolt. I mean, maybe an underrated duo this major. Of course, it's been very, very hard for us to kind of tell who's going to be good with the dominance that Peterbot and Poyo has been showing across Cash Cups and qualifiers and stuff like that. So there's a big question mark as to who are big contenders for jumping into that top 10 this FNCS. And honestly, listen, Kelly, we've seen some highlights from Thoric throughout the day, and I've been very impressed with the mechanics.
Yeah, Bryce and Bolts have been able to make it to 2nd place twice in a row now. And this wasn't the last game we just watched, but I believe in game 3, Bolts was a solo player with Bryce going down, and Bolts in this 1v2 against Cold and Acorn, where everyone thought, oh, Cold and Acorn are going to be able to clear him out easy. He was super scrappy, incredibly mobile, able to kind of teleport around the final moments of that game. So we definitely know that the mechanics are there. They have a decent drop spot. There's not too many people landing near them. They're kind of southeast of that Reckless Railways. So they have a decent POI. They're central to the map. They clearly have the mechanics, but can they get the Victory Royale? Well, with after 2 second places, I think it's definitely possible.
Let's find out, Kelly. It is that time. This is the final game here on Just Day #1. Victory Royale, top 25. That's where we are hoping to keep things. For now, though, our casters are standing by. This is Monster D-Face and the Best Taco.
Thank you, Zeke, and that's right. We can see how pressure can start to add up here in any type of semifinal setting. Set lobbies that we're showcasing right now really does put a spotlight on just how difficult it can be to get a win there, Taco.
Yeah, there's a lot of powerhouse duos that I think would have definitely been some pretty big favorites leaning into who's going to secure a Victory Royale. And while we have seen 4 of them go through so far today, MDF, I mean, looking at the stuff that Muzz was pulling out in the last lobby, Muzz and Paper are definitely still on the prowl for their Victory Royale. We're also looking at the likes of Clicks and Epic Whale. I mean, they are definitely a team. They're not going to be content with qualing any other way, but we'll find out who's going to take it because Game 5 is here to play.
Here we have it. The upper bracket is now leaning its way towards the final moments. Who will take home that prestigious last Victory Royale and go straight to the finals lobby? We'll just have to find out. We highlighted 2 duos there just shortly, but other duos, Reet, Ritual, you know, of course, the Peterbot and Poyo. Peterbot actually just ended his stream. He's looking to lock in right now. This might be the game that allows him, you know, to cut all distraction and really focus in on just the game right now. So with everything on the line right here, I think I might have spoken too soon. Peterbot is not in the feed. Could they have been contested at their drop? We'll just have to find out here.
That would be quite the mental blow to get 4 lobbies, uncon Grim Gate, and then in your last match of upper bracket day 1, potentially knocked. But seems as though, whatever the circumstance, Poyo, Peterbot, they've managed to scrape it back together. And Grim Gate
probably clipped out the sky, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty much the direction that I was headed there. Is unfortunately getting shot down from above, but happens to the best of us. Kind of building on what you were just mentioning, though, all of NA, and not even just NA, a lot of the Fortnite community kind of just wondering, like, who's going to save NA? Who's going to contest Peterbot and Poyo? Turns out, one of the best ways to deal with these two is just not challenge them outright, because they've been having a lot of issues with their Surge without being able to collect the immediate fight Surge strategy that they've been banking on so far.
Yeah, I think, you know, after game 1, it must have really set back his mental there. You know, they took that first fight. It did not go in their favor, and having to sit out a full lobby like that, They switched it up for game 2, played a little more passively, and then that didn't work, right? So all of a sudden now you're kind of left questioning yourself, second-guessing yourself. And just like that, things can start to go astray. But take a look at this. Quinn and Blaze from third-partying this fight in the previous game to now landing in this general area. Seems like they forced out Paco and Mixon and other duos, and now they're winning the drop there too, so well played for them. Here's Macwood by himself. Grand Glaciers continue to be a bit of a war zone here in the icy territory. Blake and Macwood haven't quite been super successful. They haven't been quite failures here nonetheless, but this is the last game. 68 points means you're inside the top 25. Do you really want to risk it all is the question here, and same can be said for Macwood. This is his top 25 game on the line right now for this upper bracket position if he cannot win this.
It's a chance, though, that Macwood's willing to bank on himself. Ozone not letting up either. These two are legitimately duking it out as much as possible here at Grand Glacier. But Macwood maybe recognizing the fact that, hey, the fallback, I need some materials, I need some resources. A great bump and a great Thunderburst. Not exactly, you know, the ideal situation, but Macwood's first one outside of the building here at Grand Glacier. He's going straight for the reboot van and bringing Blake back into this one. It's going to be a decent advantage potentially. Depends on what happens next though, because Ozone could look to clip Blake out of the sky.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it makes sense for Ozone to back off here. He's in the 25th position. Macwood's duo is in the 24th. They are on the bubble, quite literally, of remaining inside of the upper bracket if they just continue to pace themselves for this game. So to me, it seems like it's definitely not worth the risk. A little too high. The pressure is on here for game 5. This is the last game. You know, traditionally these weekends look like 6 games of coverage, but this setting, this stage, it's a special one. Just got 5, so it's a little more prestigious.
The repercussions, though, for Ozone to not choose to close out that fight and continue that immediate engagement with Macwood, it now means that he's left to try and find an opening to bring Golden back. Reciprocal also going to shut down Dreams here in our final lobby of upper bracket day 1. Can't celebrate for too long, though. M-Pen and Pump looking to encroach upon G-Money and Reciprocal's current position. And M-Pen from above. Good post. They're being smart about how they choose to play this one.
I was trying to figure out what I was listening to.
It's just
the audio
continuous fire.
For a second there. Reciprocal G-Monster trying to get situated here. You can see very, very cautiously working their way through these buildings. No trust. They think M-Pen and Pump are still nearby, but they're long gone now. Bree and Ritual looking for trades here as they have prime positioning, and this is definitely a team that can do big things. We've seen them have their standout moments, but can it all come together here?
Reed and Ritual's primary problem so far today has just been not having a whole lot of surge to work with. I think the first lobby may have been the best one that they've been able to play through today in terms of how far along their search strategy actually was, but everything else, it does seem as though some of our uncontested teams are having difficulties in terms of actually locking down enough damage to continue just focusing on playing out the lobby in terms of just ideal positioning, ideal rotations, because you have to risk exposing yourself as well to the rest of the lobby when you're opting to get that surge damage online.
So no Baka here. Seek and Dash already have elimination, so Pars is by himself. Inside the cone, gathering data. Might just be a matter of time here, though, for Pars. If he just sits around and waits this one out, you're gonna find him.
Waterbending Mythic. Again,
You
just
turn on the wheels and just get through there.
he's getting there. He's making a dent. He's scratching at the surface now. Pars' builds. And Pars,
Splat.
he just wishes they'd go away. Yeah, splat. Actually, though, it's a lot of hard mats, though, being invested from Pars just to try and keep Seek and Dash at bay. I think right now, Pars might have caught wind of the fact that there's another team potentially rotating into this current position. He might be hoping that Poppy could pull away the attention here, but the floor will finally give. Pars, no shield, will manage to get that small shield potion online, though. But again, Seek, Dash, now splitting momentarily, two separate angles, two different walls that Pars is going to attempt to hold up. And he is scurrying to try and create a gap, try and find some space. But it just doesn't have much to work with.
Yeah, all in all, Seek's tracking right now is just impeccable. He had 4 cones to choose from right there. Chose the right one still. But no, as all this is happening, another duo looks in and Pars has done exactly what he wanted to do. Stall this fight out just long enough for a savior, air quotes, if you will, to come in and potentially change this story around here. It's Poppy and it's Eclipse, but you know, now the damage has been done. Dash is now out.
Pars definitely accomplishing his mission of someone's going to find themselves in a fickle situation with me. But Poppy and Eclipse, they got exactly what they were looking for. An elimination, a little bit of surge damage, willing to fall back and Seek and Pars. I mean, these guys are statues. They have not moved for the last 20 seconds or so because they know that their fates are kind of just at the mercy of what Poppy and Eclipse decide they want to do next. And it does appear as though Poppy could potentially be looking to just maintain that line of sight. Pars wants to finish the fight.
Oh my gosh. If Pars actually ends up getting the victory out, that would just be all the salt in the wound for Seek right now. That was a monstrous tag. So close. Pars actually chickened out for a second there. You saw it. He was like, wait a second, I don't want to just go 50-50. He backed out the builds. But if he would have just committed there, he would have had the elimination as he caught Seek first.
If he found it once, he can do it again. Pars definitely out for a vengeance right now. And yeah, with Poppy, Eclipse still lurking somewhat nearby. They could look to pick up the pieces here. Seek gonna have to cancel that medkit. And Pars going for the immediate collapse. Just finally giving Seek a taste of his own medicine with that waterbending mythic. And a blue gatekeeper shotgun at that versus the purple pump. And Pars closes this one out.
Ooh.
Well-deserved gritty on him as well.
You know what? The points matter because at the end of the day, you want to maintain your top 25. I think they definitely have enough to do just that for Baka and Pars, but still putting a little respect on it. Playing, and honestly, outsmarting Seek and Dash there. You got to respect the strategy to just stick around, play the cones.
He might even have a real chance.
To reboot, yeah. I mean,
exactly.
It's still early in the game. It's only Zone 3.
And it really just depends on which direction, but it did seem as though Poppy and Eclipse, they were hanging around, but they weren't necessarily indicating, to me at least, that they had a full intention of trying to aggress again into where Pars was at. They definitely seemed a lot more content with just the damage that they initially received off that first elimination onto Dash. But yeah, if Pars is able to bring Baka back into this one, that could be a massive momentum swing, because you gotta imagine from Baka's perspective, he just watched his duo do the clutch of the century, right? So,
oh yeah,
at least for this last lobby, they want to make the most of it.
The other teams that are still live right now, Batman, Booga, Rapid, I saw them rotating not too far off from Peterbot and Boyo here, somewhere in the distance there, as we're just outside the underworld. You have Npendo 64 in the distance there. The base with my guy Pump. That's a scary, scary duo. They've been playing very consistently, tracking their way towards the right direction as far as overall points are concerned. Batman, Booga, and Rapid are of course, I'd say on the bubble as well, they do need to continue to perform if they want to maintain their top 25 right now. 106 points it's solid, but it's not a full lock.
Meanwhile, teams like Bolts and Bryce, well, Bolts definitely getting a nice little hello from a team trying to utilize some waterbending mythics all the way over from, I think that's the ship at station. Could be a problem, but again, Bryce and Bolts, they kind of have the luxury. They know that they're locked for that 6th through 25th position with their performance so far today, but they just want the guaranteed in. And they've been so close in back-to-back lobbies here today, MDF. This could be the one, depending on how they choose to play it.
Peanut Boya parked right underneath this Rift Island here. The Shadow and Zooks are going to be the first to secure cash up top. A lot of goodies are going to drop out of this, and Shadow could definitely use the extra heal, so it's a good spot for him to be in right now.
Capture point does seem like it'll be going in their favor. Poyo's got to be careful, though, gliding in with Peterbot. Waterbending Mythic, really easy to try and tag those players that are soaring through the skies off those rifts. And with the capture point now in favor of Shadow and Zooks, they'll have an exact idea of where Peterbot and Poyo are at. Peterbot, though, just trying to make use of that weapons mod bench. And it does seem as though capping mats could be the intention. Plenty of metal, but even more brick that can be provided by Rift Island could be part of the reason why Peterbot and Poyo are here, in fact, because if there's anywhere you can get max brick, it's definitely Rift Island.
Rift Island, you know, the brick there too just yields like way more than what feels like your average stone at times. Like, it's very, very lucrative to at least, you know, run by for a pit stop, especially when you need those mats. Macwood and Blake, though, saw what happened early on. It was a bit of a struggle. Macwood did just enough to push off the team that he was contested by, saves Blake, and now they're right back into a spot here, right back into the game, if you will. No movement in sight as everyone is base down. You see even players like Macwood holding that mythical water-bending item. Braids has got a sniper, right? Everyone's got what they need to do maximum damage at range.
This truly is the calm before the storm, essentially. Vert and Yumi gonna be some of the first to move. Braids missed the shot there. Was hoping to connect with that sniper. Any shield crack right now could be all it takes for a team to opt to collapse, opt to key, and immediately try and catapult themselves even further into the late game. But this is a lot of kind of surge towers that we've been seeing from all these teams here, just about. Clix and Epic, on the other hand, though, they're stuck in an engagement with Trashy. They want to make sure that they're able to still rotate to zone easily, but they don't want to be receiving shots from behind in the process, because Clix definitely trying to hold on to these splashes as long as possible.
I like this, using the river here to go ahead and start getting their movement. You can see how important it is for Clix to make sure he keeps these dashes on check here. He's one in the chamber. They're gonna heal up, so to me that says they're gearing up for battle. And it's Reet in front of them. This is the second time we've seen Reet and Clix clash in what could be a full-on fight here, even with the distractions nearby, and it's because they're once again below the surge. This is a problem for Clix and Epic Whale. We knew it was going to be a problem coming in. They did good maintaining game 1 and 2, but since game 1 and game 2, it's like it's only gotten progressively worse. I don't know if it's the lobby adapting or if it's Clix and Epic Whale slowing down, you know, how early they've been deciding to fight, but this is risky, right, Taco? When you're starting to take these fights, and you're taking these fights amongst all these other players. Just look at the map.
Yeah, the primary problem is just the fact that this isn't an engagement that Clix and Epic want. It's one that they need.
Yep.
Because of the fact that they are just barely gonna claw their way above that damage threshold. But look at the situation it's left Clix in now, focused out by the entirety of the lobby, just trying to reunite with his duo Epic. Unfortunately though, Clix, his shield so low, does have these small shield potions to work with, an extra med kit as well from Epic, but Clix gonna go ahead and throw that one down, recognizing the fact that he still has one more in tow just in case, but with only one splash left, Clix now gonna have to operate without max shield. And again, he's fighting his way through the lobby at this point. Still needs a little bit more surge. Catches Ritual off guard though. Ritual checking the other side of that wall. Caught lacking in all honesty. And now Clix, Epic, that might just be the opening they need. Hazent's just trying to get this revive off onto his teammate, but barely pulls it off in time. Still, Clix, Epic, they want more. They need every single refresh they can find right now.
And that was just a great read by Epic Will. He saw that there was loot on the right side of that box, so makes the call for Clix and him to focus that, you know, single player, because little did he know that was already the solo. So well played there, and he almost finds Ritual there too. So big plays, Clix secures the loot, and I mean, it puts them right back into the game here, at least momentarily. Now it's not looking too good, but give them a second, they should be able to bounce back. We know they have the heals here. Look, they're gonna go for the rotation first. This is so risky.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's a 2-tick.
Oh, he's committed.
Oh, it's even
my
worse.
gosh.
It's a 4.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, he might just make it though.
No way.
Epic?
Die, brother.
Just short,
Oh,
man. Tragic too when you really think about it, because look who did make it into zone. Saw Reed.
Yep.
Hanging out just barely on the edge despite everything that Epic and Clix put him through. Unfortunate stuff there. It's gonna draw the end of Clix and Epic's upper bracket day 1. But you're asking me earlier, MDF, you know, what went wrong? And it is really just simple fact. Games 1 and 2, we saw Clix and Epic, they had those weapon bunker fights to kind of rely on for their surge damage. After everything after that, maybe it's lobby adaptability, but people just weren't fighting. People just weren't engaging them at that weapons bunker. And it just becomes all the more difficult because you're just taking the most forced situations instead of optimal engagements. And
look at who's on hype. Hearing about Empoyo right now. Talk about optimal situations. They're trying to literally win the game. They're not doing that low ground stuff this game. They're up here on high ground early now, really trying to assert and position himself to be dominating. And they have 2 elims, which is great for the Storm Surge. You can see the damage reflecting really well here. What are the odds here? Taco, hear about Empoyo lock in right now.
This is the second time out of all 5 games today so far, BF, where they have looked to be in a relatively strong position to win it. But again, it's just so early on, and Poyo and Peterbot, it's win or lower bracket, essentially, at this point.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder if maybe some of the pressure was starting to extend from everyone around them. Everyone talking on socials like, yeah, Peterbot, Poyo, they're guaranteed for this. And before
also,
you know it,
like I said, Peterbot was live as well, right? You have the pressure of 10,000 people watching you play live in his own chat with no delay. So, you know, now that he's fully offline, he's just focused up. I mean, we're seeing a much different level of play right here. So far consistent, seems smooth, seems steady, right? Which is really what you'd expect if they're not king, right? If they're W king, then sure, we can expect the shambles, we can expect you know, anything to happen. But when they're playing slow and steady game after game, you should see them in endgame relatively consistently. At least I would hope so.
did see a promising moment there though for Kanata and Cooper. They're still able to try and keep things moving as much as the next, but Ritual, they've definitely managed to turn this one around, if even temporarily. And Kanata just saw him get that revive off of the Cooper. A massive shot there. And that is such a crucial refresh that could not have come at a better time for that team.
Great pickup there. New team on high ground right now, though, as everyone's kind of giving it up. No one is safe. The zone's pulling right back the way it came, more or less. So this is going to go off this little ledge, down the rivers, and then right back on up onto a bit of a landmass. So things are getting a little dicey here. Meanwhile, we jump in with Muzz and Paper, alive and relatively healthy. This is a good spot to be in. Paper is swapped over to his signature fit, so you see everyone looking to get in focus mode right now.
Really couldn't ask Paper to lock in any harder than what he is right now, next to Muzz as well. And these spaces that they're choosing to operate in as well, just breaking their way through some of these pre-existing builds. Muzz, small tag from behind. It's gonna be a reminder, can't get too comfortable with your spacing. Just look who's trailing behind though. Baka Pars from the depths. Baka now gonna have to continue this run though without Pars. Last minute solo coming into an engagement, and it's just not good enough. Rapid gonna take full advantage, but Baka and Pars, for what it's worth, excellent attempt.
Reed by himself right now, finds Yuumi on the outside of the zone there. But you know, eliminations are not enough. It's all or nothing, win or bust out of the game here. And let's see it, high ground broken down. Peterbot snatches it up, and they are playing for domination right here as we're inside a top 10, and they might just be the healthiest team alive. And not only that, take a look at the loadout here. They could do a lot of damage with this as they have options. I think Kanata and Cooper are alive just below them as well, so that's a dangerous, dangerous duo here. They're positioning themselves nearby. Muzz and Paper opted to play a little bit late storm here, trying to size up the high ground, but they might be a little too late, too gone. And it is Cooper and Kanata.
Cooper and Kanata as well, making sure to exchange the medallion of Siphon. Big moments there, though. Travesty for Muzz and Paper, but a huge come up there for Cooper and Kanata. And now, just trying to make sure they stay towards that front side of zone. They're going to continue to play this ultimate low ground for the time being. They know they've got members behind them, but it's going to come down to Peterbot and Pollo up above, whether they can be shot out from their perch, chopped momentarily, but can you really chop a team that has that aspect of agility? Kanata, Cooper, Kanata especially so low with his shields in comparison to Pollo and Peterbot.
They double shield up right here, so Pollo's basically making the call. Hey, look, max HP at all times. Let's do this right here, and that means they're committing to the fight here. They single out one, but Cooper with a great low ground tag here turns things around, and Peterbot with a 140 in the finish onto Cooper, and it might just be all or nothing here in the finish. Peterbot closes out strong in the end. Wow.
That was a showstopper finish, without a doubt, because Peterbot and Pollo had expended all of their options here today, MDEF. They were absolute shambles as far as that leaderboard is concerned and had a guaranteed ticket to the lower bracket. But this Victory Royale has now just sent them straight to Grand Finals.
I just find it genuinely incredible how all of a sudden they have managed to really lock in and focus up. Look at this, plays for high ground, and then they just go back to the basics. They play a textbook. They didn't do anything flashy. They didn't, key any players. They just utilized the aspect of agility the way you were supposed to. Take high ground, get to the front side of zone, don't do anything fancy, and then in the end, show everyone what you are made of. And Peterbot just collapses onto Cooper, sees Kanata jump down, and the flick shot from the water was beautiful to close it out. And congratulations, Game 5 won by none other than Peterbot and Pollo. That is the kind of team that we expected to see in finals, and they do it when, I guess their backs were against the wall.
Yeah, and for Peterbot and Pollo especially, I mean, things were getting a little crazy there, MDF, but haters are my motivators at times, right? If the Peterbot mentality for today. So, I mean, big congrats to them for sure. But that's going to be it for us here today, Monster. Game number 1 through 5. Fantastic stuff here out of the upper bracket day 1. Excited to see just how everything shapes up on that leaderboard. So, for myself and MDF, thank you guys so much, and excited for day 2.
Big shout outs here to MDF and of course the best Taco. My gosh, that really just happened, huh? That really just happened. Coming down to the wire, Kanada on the other end, just thinking like this could go any which way. And to think that the day we've had with this duo, right, Kelly? Like they've been in the past, they've been so hot and now so cold. But to slow the gameplay down and to say game 5, okay? We're going to win this one. This is the one we're just going to lock it in. We're going to secure it. To see them come out and do this, like, it shows control, right? We've seen a lot of their, we're just going to go all in W key people. And, you know, we've also seen games where they go down in 30th. But this, having that control, they really do have it all, don't they?
I think there's a lot of question marks going on right now. And I think that kind of happened after week 1 of the open qualifiers, because Peterbot and Pollo had a great performance right before the qualifiers started. And then in qualifier 1, they didn't do bad. They still got top 10, but they didn't have this dominant performance. And I think we saw that here again today. And Peterbot and Pollo, you know, we heard Taco say it, haters are our motivators. And we know that there, you know, it's a lot of eyes on this duo right here. And even at the start of that game, Vivid, Peterbot got knocked out of the air before he even touched the ground. So the fact that they are able to have potentially one of the worst situations presented to them and one of the worst games we've seen them in a long time, and still be able to collect themselves and then perform at the level that they did in game number 5 is definitely a showcase to their ability as a competitor when it comes to the mental side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the specific day, of course, there's going to be a big question mark as to what those games 1 through 4, right? What really happened to Peterbot and Pollo? Oh my gosh, they're not even inside the top 25. Are we going to see them tomorrow? Are they going to win a game? They're supposed to be winning every single game, every set lobby that they're in. And then that question mark just instantly goes away as we watch them in game number 5 perfect the game plan that we have seen all season long. And then it's just like, yeah, it looks like they're going to win grand finals again. You know what I mean? It just comes full circle with this duo. They're so good. They've shown us our potential in game number 5. And yeah, we'll be seeing them in grand finals. Shout out to Peterbot and Pollo, always putting on such a performance.
Absolutely. Congratulations to them. Obviously, we have to look at standings. We got to remind ourselves of all the players that have kind of like won. In case you're just tuning in, you're like, what, did I miss it? You did, unfortunately. But we'll get you up to speed. Don't worry. A lot has happened. Many winners to take a look at here. We had 5 games today. Let's take a look at the list of our winners on the day. Game 1, Krizix, Yasir. Game 2 saw Booga and Adris picking up the W. Game 3, Acorn and Cold defending their title, finally getting themselves that spot. Yamzo and Rise in Game 4. Then finally, Peterbot and Pollo. Again, they just had a really slow start on the day, but I'm just so impressed with their ability to pick it up, right? I love that MDF used the expression, your back's against the wall, right? For this duo, it was this or we're going down a lower bracket. And then we're gonna have to sit there, we're gonna have to fight our way back into upper bracket. And for them, they just said, let's just qual. Let's you know, what are we doing? Let's just qual.
Get rid of all the nonsense. And honestly, listen, a big thing for Peterbot this season, a big talking point has been like, yo, Peterbot, like everybody's calling you the best in the world right now. You're dominating the competition. Why don't you stream? You know, not very familiar with streaming himself, doesn't really like to stream some of these competitions, but today, surprise, surprise, was actually streaming some of these games. But I noticed, I checked during game number 5, there was no stream. The stream had been turned off, locked in, and ready to win the game. So I'm assuming that was a big part of it as well, right? Getting back to those familiar elements of just being off screen for that W.
You love to see it. Now, guys, I do have a surprise for you. I have a interview with one of the winners on that list. It is Yamzo. We're gonna have an opportunity here to talk with him. Yamzo, what's going on, man? It's great to see you. It's great to talk again. I feel like I haven't talked to you in so long. How is it going?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a minute since we talked, but I'm doing good off the win, and I'm excited for Grands.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So how was this semifinals for you guys? Do you feel like getting this win out of the way is just good? Now you can focus on Grands. You guys feeling like maybe there's areas of your play you want to refine? Like, where are you guys at right now?
Well, last season we didn't qual off the win format, the same heat of this one, but yeah, it definitely feels good to win a game, and I don't know, it's like good practice to keep playing them because they're good Surge games, but we didn't really struggle at all with Surge today, so I'm definitely feeling a lot more confident.
It's good to hear, and of course, you know, you guys are very, very close with BloodX, who is, of course, is a coach in the scene, and I saw that after you guys won, he kind of tweeted out that height on NAC is easy, and everybody else is just scared. You guys, of course, won the game by stealing high ground from Peterbot and Pollo, who have gotten so much respect this season. Walk us through what the game plan was there, and was it easy to steal height, or was it difficult?
I mean, honestly, you just gotta wait for like the right moment, because like a lot of NA teams, they don't really look at height at all, because like Peterbot's been so dominant with it, and like no one really looks up at it. But we waited, had the perfect timing, and we just took it.
Yeah, that definitely seemed to work out for you guys. And when I see you as a duo, Iamzo and Rise, you guys have been playing together for years now. What is it like to stick with a duo for so long, and what advantages do you think that gives you in the competition?
I definitely think there's like a lot of advantages, but there's also like a lot of disadvantages. It's like a relationship. There's like bumpy roads, you go up and down. You gotta like fight through them and like figure out each other, but yeah.
Awesome. So obviously the talk of the town NNA this season has been Peterbot and Pollo. You know, we've seen them very hot and we've seen them very cold. Now they got their spot to grand finals. How do you feel about their performance? Do you think they're going to be kind of be able to carry this crazy momentum we've seen them from the past into grand finals?
100%. I definitely think they could get conned, as the coin is really OP and it shouldn't be unconned on NA because EU is like quad con, but I don't know, it depends.
Okay, one final question for you. Obviously, you were at the Global Championships. You finished 8th. For you to have this spot now going to Grands, you know, to qualify again for the Global Championships, what would that mean for you as a player?
What would it mean as a player? I don't think it like really mattered to me because I think I'm gonna qual 100%, but I just hope to do better than I did last Grand at the Invitational.
Awesome. Well, Iamzo, thank you so much, man. For all the fans out there who maybe don't know who you are, this is their first time seeing you. Where can they find you? Because I need them to go follow you right now.
Yam's on pretty much all socials, and shout out my coach BloodX, my mentor Poppy, and my fighting coach Faxity.
Iamzo, thank you so much, man. Congratulations on the Victory Royale. The next time we'll see you is in grand finals.
Thank you, thank you.
Iamzo is a confident man and a man of few words.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. But hey, look, you know, he's kind of been there before, right? He's got that veteranship status on his belt, so to speak. So for him to go back, he's like, hey, I'll be there. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm sure he will be there. This is just day number 1 of the competition here in semifinals. We still have standings to look out, friends. We still have to see which duos ended in that top 25 and see who's going to stay in the upper bracket and move down to the lower bracket as we take a look together. So once again, if they got the duos at the top, they got Victory Royales, they're gone, they're good to go. But now start to look down. Of course, Kanata, Cooper, they did almost get themselves that Victory Royale, but they're still looking so good in the second place there. And as we flip over, there's still a ton of names here that, you know, I'm very excited are currently still holding in that upper bracket.
Paco and Mixon, EU represent, and of course we'll be seeing them again in the upper bracket tomorrow. Clicks fans rise. No W today, but another opportunity tomorrow. We'll have to see if they can make it happen. Muzz and Paper in the last game right there, an opportunity on higher ground. Could not seize it, as Peterbot and Playo had something to say about that. And our top 25 is right there, Kelly.
Oh man, Aviv and Chubbs just barely scraping by into the top 25. So excited to see how they're going to perform in our upper bracket tomorrow. But of course, I have to feel for Yumi and Vert, as well as Inpin and Pump. These are two incredible duos that will now have to fight through the gauntlet that is the lower bracket.
And that's okay. right? It's not the end of the world, right? It's just going to be a much harder battle, and that's okay because, as one famous Fortnite pro once said, pressure makes diamonds. So not all is lost, right? We continue to cheer on our favorite pros out there in this scene until it's not over, till it's over, right? That's what Fortnite has taught me in life. How did you guys feel after these 5 games? Anything jump out to you? Anything you want to maybe see done differently tomorrow? What do you think, Vivid?
I think coming into tomorrow, obviously love this format. The winner qualifying is always so fun, and these games absolutely fly by. Tomorrow, my eyes will be peeled on some of those POIs where teams qualified from who is going to take the opportunity to land there. Of course, the primary one that I will be mentioning is going to be Grimgate. Who's going to be bold enough to take on the reins of the aspect of agility? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and we also have the major POI of Mount Olympus there. And apparently Fencing Fields just provides a lot of victory royales for people too. So a lot of mix-ups going to be happening. Excited to see the lower bracket and which duos made it through that we're going to be seeing tomorrow. So, man, we got 5 more games tomorrow. And then the day 3 where we find out who all of the 50 duos will be making their way to the grand finals.
That's right. Tomorrow, new duos from the upper half of the lower bracket will look to fight their way into either get themselves a victory royale and say, hey, look, we're also going to grands, and maybe even look to push players out of the upper bracket down to lower. It's great. It's going to be amazing as always, Fortnite fam. We love y'all so much. Thank you for just hanging out with us. Without you, this is just not possible, and we love talking Fortnite with all of you. So, as always, we love you. Keep yourself safe, and we'll see you on that battle bus. Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.